Yeah, I can't believe it. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Last week, week 4, you made it. You made it. Is anybody struggling with anything before we get into today? Is anybody having any issues? Do you need me to explain anything? Remember, we're not doing a review today. The last review was last class. So is anybody, do you need help? Do you need, I mean, this is your class. It's not my class. This is your class. I need to get you to the state exam and pass the state exam. So you guys need to tell me what you need from me. Hold on one second.
I just have a quick question. In the yellow book versus the video, when we're feeding, do we cleanse their hands or assume they've been cleaned before we? Well, since even though we're feeding them, they're not using their hands.
Well, okay. So there's 2 things with that. All right. Actually 3, but so let's talk about the mechanics of it. Even though we're physically feeding the patient, and for those of you that can't hear, the question was, there's a discrepancy between what I show on feeding and what the yellow book talks about with step-by-step with feeding, specifically to washing their hands before we feed them. So even though we're feeding them, it doesn't mean that they're not going to participate, that they're not going to use their hands, that their hands won't be coming up to their mouth, particularly if something starts to fall out of their mouth. I mean, that's just a reflex. Your hand, if you're able to move, your hand's going to go up to your mouth, and we don't want dirty hands near the mouth. So washing their hands is an important part of feeding, even if we're the ones doing the feeding. Okay, it also kind of goes to ritual because most people wash their hands before they eat. So that's why we're washing hands before, even if we're feeding them. So mechanically, yes, you should be washing their hands using hand wipes, something like that. Now, let's talk about the test specifically. There is a checkpoint on feeding. Let me get it. Never take anything that I or anybody else says at face value. Always verify, because I'm human. I may make mistakes. So verify. That's why we give you all of the tools that you need to verify everything. I'm a big proponent of that. I don't believe anything unless I can verify it. Trust but verify. Okay, so let's go to feeding, and I want to read you this checkpoint for feeding, okay? So for feeding, it has step number 4, offer or assist resident to wash hands before feeding using a damp washcloth, paper towel, or hand wipe. So this is a graded checkpoint. It doesn't say to verify that they wash their hands or assume they wash their hands. The wording is very specific: offer or assist. Good morning. Have a great day. So there's action and intent there. If you don't perform that action, you're not going to get that checkpoint. Okay, so mechanically, yes, we do. State test, we need to offer. But now let's get to the third issue, yellow book versus what I teach you. And this is why on the videos, the new videos, when you're watching my videos, make sure I have on black scrubs. If I have on any other color of scrubs, because this is the 3rd series that I've done, if I have on blue or any other color, go find my new ones. There will be a link. It's usually the pinned comment. Go find my new one, because the new one actually has the checkpoint right on the screen. So when I'm doing an action, you can see this is why I'm doing this action, because it's a checkpoint. So those videos, I don't do anything that's not a checkpoint. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So issue number 3, my way versus the yellow book. Now, Hartman is the yellow book. They're a textbook publisher, but they are nationwide. And the standards in other states aren't necessarily the same testing standards that we have here in Florida. Other states may just assume that they've washed their hands. Because Hartman is nationwide, their instructions, their step-by-step instructions are not going to be the same as our testing standards. That's why everything that we do is geared specifically to your test, Prometric. Prometric tests in like 13 states. So all of the states that use Prometric, it's the exact same standards. So if there's ever discrepancy between what the yellow book tells you and what I tell you, always go by my instruction. Now, I am hoping next year, and I've been saying this for 3 years, so don't take this to the bank, but I am hoping to be able to finish up the online course where all of the lessons that you're reading in the textbook, all of that stuff that we don't cover, that's why you have to read it. I'm hoping to have lessons in the online course on those things so we can get rid of Hartman. That's really my long-term goal, because the lessons in the online course are a little more engaging, a little more fun, a little more interactive, not just boring reading. So plus I can make sure that they align with what we're teaching, care plan centered care. Does that make sense? Okay.
So my process of studying for the test right before it happens, my plan was to rewatch all of the courses and take notes and just watch them and really pay attention to every single class that we had. Do you think that would probably be the best idea, just to watch the classes?
I would, yeah. I mean, you can watch them one more time. Put me on double speed or 1.5 speed just to get through it a little quicker, right? So yeah, you can rewatch this content. That would help kind of fill in the blanks. But what a better strategy is for test preparation is watch just the skills videos. Because remember, the skills videos have all of the checkpoints right on there. Pair that with, you can have your book in front of you reading along as I'm doing the steps, you know, so you can put those two pieces together. But your best, hands down, best form of review are going to be the worksheets. The after class worksheets that Jake hands out to you. I wrote those worksheets with a lot of intention. They're not just thrown together. These worksheets, they encompass everything that we learned in class that day. And they're written in a way to trigger your memory so that as you're reading, you're like, oh yeah, I remember she said. So those worksheets will be the very best form of review for you. And yeah, you can watch the whole, educational series. Sure. That's 8 classes, 4 hours at a time. It's 32 hours of content. That's a lot to try to cram in. So, if you kind of put it on in the background, just listen to me as a review, that's fine. But your best action is watch the skills videos and then pair that with the worksheets and you'll be okay. Guys, here's something that you're expecting the test to be way harder than it is. You really are. I mean, and that's natural. That is normal. Everybody that comes back to me that's had my class and said, hey, I passed, I always ask the same question. Was it as hard as you thought? And every single time it's no. Oh, but wait until you hear what I saw, because you are judging your performance based on me. That's not fair. You are not my level of experience. The test is not grading you based on me. The test is grading you based on other yous. Okay? Does that make sense? So it's going to be choppy. It's going to be messy. You're going to forget steps and have to go back and correct that. That's all fine. It doesn't have to be pretty. Get the check marks. But it's not going to be nearly as hard as you think it's going to be. And the real problem here is that very few of you have ever experienced a skills-based exam. Think back to high school. All of your exams were paper and pen or pencil if you were Scantron era, right? There was nothing that you had to demonstrate in front of somebody and get checked off. very few people have taken a skills-based exam. So automatically it's an unknown, and we always fear the unknown. They don't allow video cameras into the testing center, so we can't even show you an example of what it's going to be like to help alleviate your anxiety. So your anxiety just keeps going up and up and up the closer your testing date gets, because you don't know what to expect. Guys, my skills videos is what to expect. That's as close as I can get to showing you what the testing center is going to be like. Okay. It's not nearly as hard as you think it's going to be. You need to know the basics. You need to know the principles that we've covered over and over and over again. At the beginning of every skill, how do you know what to do with each patient? You read the care plan, and we follow that care plan. Do we deviate from the care plan? That's all the information you need to pass test right there. It gives you instructions. You follow the instructions, you will pass. It's not as hard as you think it's going to be. Where people get in trouble is when they don't follow the care plan. They make stuff up on their own. And I'm going to give you a real world example of this in 1 minute. There's a current event we got to talk about. Yes.
I forgot. Whenever you come in, you always say, like, the more you're on this patty, how do you know what to introduce yourself as? Is there like certain standards for different places?
So yeah, you'll go by your policy and procedure, but for the most part, we stick to first names. So, just introduce yourself, whatever your first name is. Basically, they just need to know who to call when they have a problem. Okay.
On the 60 count written test, how many can you get wrong?
Oh, this is a very difficult question to answer. It's not like a traditional test where you have to score 70%. It's not scored that way.
Weighted?
It is weighted, but there's also 5 categories on the test. Now, those 5 categories are the role of the nurse aide, basic nursing care as provided by nurse aide, providing specialized care. Hold on.
Categories are weighted differently.
You have to pass each category. Okay, well, give me 1 second. Okay, role of the nurse aide, promotion of safety, promotion of function and health of residents, basic nursing care provided by nurse aide, and providing specialized care for residents with changes. Those are your 5 categories. I'm going to simplify them. Those are too complex for me. Your 5 categories really: know your role, know your normals, right? Normals are vital signs and aging. Right? What's normal? Because we have to report everything abnormal. So what's normal? Safety, infection control, and patient rights. Those are the 5 things that you're really going to be tested on. But they're going to grade you per category. So one of these categories only has 7 questions. So if you miss 3 out of those 7 in that category, you failed that category. So 3 questions could ostensibly fail you. Now, on top of that, because that's not complex enough, right? On top of that, we have 1, maybe 2, but usually 1 question on the exam called a critical concept question. Now, critical concept questions are very difficult to explain. I'm going to try to simplify it for you, but here it is. You're going to have a question with 4 answer choices, just like any other question. You're not going to be able to tell it's a critical concept question. It's just a question with 4 answer choices. Always safety. Always safety. Now, in these 4 answer choices is going to be 1 right and 3 wrong. But one of those wrong answers, if you choose it, put your patient in immediate mortal jeopardy. Immediate mortal jeopardy. If you were to do that in a clinical setting, your patient would suffer. So if you choose that wrong answer, it's an automatic fail. Do you guys understand that concept?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you just choose one of the other two wrong answers, it's okay. But if you choose the one that puts your patient in immediate mortal, like if you leave a patient in the same place as a fire, that tells us that in the clinical setting, what are you going to do? Leave your patient in the same place as a fire. Should patients and fire ever be in the same place at the same time? No. So so when you're talking about grading the written, it becomes very, very complex. It's not as simple as, well, just make a 70%, you'll be fine. Doesn't work like that. Now, the ebook, if you haven't downloaded that ebook, it goes over all of that. That ebook is all about the written test. All about the written test. Now, in your book, your skills book, your spiral book, on page 192, you have, or 191, you have a full 60-question practice test. And that will help you identify whether you're ready for the written test. The written test is not going to be hard for you guys. It is. When you take that practice test, you're actually going to laugh out loud at a couple of the answers. It's not a hard test, not at all. If you, as my student, miss 5 or fewer on the practice test, you are ready for the state exam. I have never had a student that missed 5 or fewer on the practice test fail the written. I've never had a student do that. Okay, so you will be prepared.
So when I was noticing the people that were writing when we started class, it was, Miss Patty, I failed the exam twice. Well, it's just the skills, right?
Some people do fail the written. I'm not telling you that people don't fail the written. Some people do fail the written, but the people that sit in my classroom do not fail the written.
It's just practicing these skills.
Yeah, I mean, you're much more likely to have trouble on the skills. The written, remember, you're going to have quite a few questions on the written exam about the care plan. That's the foundation of what we do. So if you just watch skills videos and learn how to do hand and nail care, but you have no idea about the care plan, no clue, you're probably not going to pass the written test because you're going to go outside of your scope of practice. Here's a good example. Okay, you're assisting a patient walk with a gait belt and they get unsteady. What is your first action? A, rush them back to the chair. B, lower them to the ground and get the nurse. C, get a walker. D, go get a wheelchair. Okay, we all know it's B, but believe it or not, C would be picked by quite a few people. Get a walker. Our care plan did not instruct us to use a walker. That is a decision we made on our own based on the fact the patient is unsteady. We are outside of the care plan. So understanding that care plan and what you're allowed and not allowed to do is a big part of the written exam. If you're just focusing on skills, you've missed that whole thing. So I just got a thank you card and they didn't give me, Jake, can you bring that to me? They did not give me anybody that I can thank for this. So I'm just going to send a blanket. Thank you. Thank you for sending this to me. This is very, very sweet. Okay. This is not one of my classroom students. This is somebody in the Panhandle, Pensacola area that said, pass the Florida CNA exam on the first attempt. Thank you for all the skills and game show videos. Helping others pass their exam with goodwill, Gulf Coast, Pensacola, Florida. Thanks again. So I don't know. Thank you. This is super sweet. And you have no idea what this just did to my heart. This is somebody, guys, that did not sit in my classroom. They watched my skills videos and my game show. And they passed on the first attempt. The majority of people that they're not on our live stream right now. I've only got 19 people on. That's nothing. 19 people. I mean, not that you're not. I am very grateful for you, But remember that this is free for everybody, right? There are right now, okay, let's play this out. Testing centers in Florida test 8 people a day, 7 days a week. That's 56 people per week per testing center. There are over 20 testing centers. Okay. So if you multiply that out, right, think about how many people every week are testing in Florida. Those are all people that are getting ready for the test. Those are people who could get free education right here, the same education you're getting because it's live, right? They can ask questions, and we'll answer Michelle's question in a minute. I haven't forgotten you, Michelle. They can ask questions. This is all free, guys. This is free. You paid money to sit in these seats. They're getting this for free, but nobody knows about it because I don't advertise it, right? So most of the people that use our resources just watch the videos and do the game show. That's it. They don't know that this is even available, and they're still passing. How much further ahead would they be if they understood what the care plan is? You guys have information that they didn't get because you're here or here. Okay. All right, Jake, put Michelle up, please. I find that I'm having anxiety and fear when it comes to taking the written exams. Could you please help to overcome my fears and successfully pass the exams? How can I successfully pass? Yeah, Michelle, that's a very common situation because you guys are used to taking written tests. You know to fear them. I mean, that's, and you probably have had some really oddball tests throughout the years where they threw questions at you you weren't prepared for, and that just mounts your anxiety. And that is a power play for an instructor, by the way. That should not be allowed. A test should be there to help you identify your own learning outcomes. It is not there for an instructor to test you. And an instructor that makes a test that is intentionally hard to pass, that is a power trip for them. That does nothing to help you. And any instructor out there that's doing that, knock it off because you're not helping your students. Not at all. Not at all. But that's probably, you've probably had that experience. So you go into the written test scared. The written test is not there to block you from becoming a CNA. The written test is there to make sure that the people who do become CNAs aren't going to put our patients at risk. That's the whole purpose. It's not about you. Who's it about? The patient. Okay. So don't fear the written test. You guys are going to have an opportunity to show what you know. You'll do fine on the written test. It's all scenario based. Go get my ebook. Jake, put the ebook up there for her. Yes. Worksheets, videos, other free. Yeah. Michelle, if you just go back and watch all of these live streams, you'll be fine because I cover absolutely everything. Everything. You guys aren't going into the test blind. I've never had a student come back and tell me, oh my gosh, I was not prepared. I was not prepared for that. I've never had that. In fact, I probably go overboard because I talk a lot. Okay. You do know that people just like watch videos and take the test and pass it. You guys are like way ahead of the game. You're fine. You're fine. Okay. All right. So let me tell you current events. This happened in Marion County, Ocala area. This happened 2 or 3 years ago, but it just made the news this weekend. It just made the news. So this was a nursing student, somebody that was at the hospital as a nursing, not a CNA, so a nursing student. And a patient had asked either to get up out of bed or go back to bed, something along those lines. And this nursing student was not assigned to this patient, had no idea what the care plan was, had no idea what the level of ability of this patient was, had no authorization to help this person. They just went in and the patient, I guess the call light went off. The patient asked to either get up or go back to bed. I'm unclear on that. And the nursing student were like, yeah, I'll help you. Now that seems pretty reasonable. It's like something we would all do, right? Patient has a request. We can fill that request. Let's help the patient, right? But the problem was that the student did not know anything about the patient. And we should have learned by now that every patient is different. So when that nursing student got the patient up to either get into bed or out of bed, I'm not sure which, the patient fell, hit their head, and ultimately died. Now, it took a couple years for the legal process to work its way through. Of course, the family sued, and an award, they settled for an undisclosed amount of money, but now the hospital is going after the school and saying, that was your student. You have to pay this. Now, the nursing student at the center of all this completed the nursing training, passed the state boards. They are now a fully licensed nurse. Hopefully, he's learned that you follow the care plan, that you have to know a little something about the patients. Hopefully, that lesson was learned. But even nurses have to follow the care plan. It exists for a reason, because you don't know everything about a patient. And if you treat this patient the way you treat that patient, something catastrophic could happen and the patient could die. Do you guys understand how important these care plans actually are? Failure to follow a care plan can and often does result in injury or death of the patient. I cannot overstress this enough. And the fact that it just happened in our own backyard this week made the news is quite astounding. This is a nursing student. This is not a CNA. This is a nursing student, an RN student. Shouldn't they understand the care plan? So that to me is a failure of the instructional staff. I think that this is going to have bigger implications than just this situation. I think this is honestly going to impact training programs. I think they're going to have a hard time finding sites to do clinicals now. Which those of you who want to go on for nursing, this is going to impact you. Because if the nursing program does not have a site to do a clinical, they don't have a program. So becoming a nurse might be a whole lot more difficult after this situation. So this one person, one action, one lapse of judgment may ultimately impact you. What we do matters. Okay. All right. Anything else I need to address, Jake? Okay. All right. Let me get your scores. Over the weekend, you had 8 and 9. Kaylee, how'd you do? Kaylee? Annalise? Thank you. Nicole?
I have 7 tests too, okay?
Yep.
95,
Yep.
100, 100.
Very good. Candace? David? Ronisha?
I have a couple of chapters that we did.
Yeah, I need 4 through 9 from you.
Okay. 4, I got 95. 5 and 6 was 100. 7 was 100. And then 8 and 9 was a 95 and then 100.
Thank you. Michaela?
Yeah,
Okay, 5 through 9 are all 100? Very good. Thank you. Jacob,
All right, so yeah,
I need 2 through 9.
so 2 is 100, 3 is 90, 4 is an 80, 5 is a 90, 6 is 100, 7 is a 95, 8. You said 8 through 9, right?
8 and 9, yep.
8 is 100 and 9 is 95.
Thank you. Very good. Oriana? Julie?
195.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
You need 7, right?
7, 8, and 9.
Okay, so 7, I got 90, and then 8, I got a 95, and I did do 90.
Very good. Russell?
95 and 100.
Thank you. Finley? Gabriella?
95 for both.
Isabella? Medina? Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
From chapter 3, which I just asked myself, so I meant to ask you,
Yeah.
so which of the following is not a normal sign of aging? Hormone levels decrease, weakened immunity, incontinence, thinner, drier skin. So incontinence, was that a tricky question?
It is a tricky question on purpose.
Okay.
And yeah, you kind of have to go back to the chapter. This is trying to figure out, did you read the chapter?
Yeah.
It really has to do with that. Because a lot of people don't do the homework reading. They just take the questions. So, well, incontinence is not a normal sign of aging. As we age, our skin does get thinner and drier. As we age, our coordination and balance gets impaired. We do get some urinary signs of aging: incomplete emptying, increased frequency and urgency, but incontinence itself is not considered a normal sign of aging. Now, it's something that we see frequently when we care for patients, but that's because of the population we're caring for. If these people were completely physically independent, we wouldn't be there, right? They wouldn't need us. So we kind of have to think about this a little bit different. If we went to, let's pick on Timber Pines, okay? We go down to the housing community down here on 19, and it's 500 houses, and you have to be 55 or older to live in there, right? These are all older people. They've got a tennis courts, a pool, a clubhouse, racquetball. People drive around in golf carts. It's great. So if you go in there and you go door to door and knock, 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 are you incontinent? Knock, knock, are you incontinent? Knock, are you incontinent? Are you incontinent? You're going to get a bunch of no's, because these are elderly people, but they're independent, right? So we have to be careful when we start thinking about normal. We're going to base that normal expectation on what we see when we care for patients, but we're not caring for independent elderly patients, are we? We're caring for those that need our help. They're not independent. So you've got to be really careful about judging your interpretation of normal based on that. So when I want you to start thinking about normal, I want you to start thinking about those people in the houses in Timber Pines, riding around on their golf carts, living their best life. They still have thinner, drier skin. They probably still go to the bathroom a little more often. They probably have some balance and coordination issues. They probably don't have incontinence. Does that help you understand the difference there? Okay. All right. Did you register for the test yet? If you have not, what are you waiting for? You need to register.
I have a question about that. So I registered, I think, I don't remember when I registered. But how many days after should we call them if they haven't sent the email?
So 2 to 3 days after you register, if you don't get an email back from them, give them a call because you may have put your email address in wrong or something. So 2 to 3 days, you should get an email back that says application status complete. And then under under the approval box, it should say pending approval. That means they got everything. They found your background check. They sent it over to the Board of Nursing. Now you're just going to hang out and wait. The next wait, so that first wait, application to first email, 2 to 3 days. The second wait, email to second email, about 7 days.
So I just signed up for the
Background check.
and everything, and I have an appointment for Friday.
Awesome.
So when do I register for the?
24 hours later.
Okay.
They're not going to give you anything. You don't have to send anything in. You don't attach anything to your application. Just go to your appointment. They'll take it from there.
So the information to register for this is on the website, right?
It is, and I have a handout. Make sure you see Jake for the test registration handout before you leave. Okay. Any other questions on that? If you have not registered for your test, you need to. By the way, check your spam folders. If you're not getting emails back from them, check your spam folders because they are a high volume sender. And especially if you have Yahoo, iCloud, or Hotmail, those three are the worst with filters. They send everything to a spam or promotions folder. So if you have any of those three email providers, make sure you're checking your spam. But even still, just check your spam folders. Your Prometric may be in there.
Has anybody ever told you that when you open up your sites, your 4YourCNA site, the difference between Chrome, Google, and Safari? Has anybody ever said anything
No.
about it? Oh, okay. Just wondering.
Okay. Is there a difference?
I just get all these ads when I do it.
Okay, my 4-year, yes, because my site is ad supported.
Okay.
When we give this information, we call 4YourCNA.com my free site
Yeah.
because we have everything on there for free, but it's not really free. It's ad supported.
Yeah.
I have to make some money off of it.
I know.
These my sites are so big, especially the course. There's so much content there. It is so big that it requires its own server. So I have to pay for a dedicated server for that site. So yeah, I have to make money off of ads.
And you said that when we call them, they're not going to want to talk to us.
Right.
So we just have to say what again?
So what you want to say is my application states that if I do not receive an authorization to test within 7 to 10 days, I'm supposed to call of approval. Okay. The first email, when you call, just let them know, hey, I registered 4 days ago. I have not gotten a confirmation email. They're going to say, yeah, it can take up to a couple of weeks. What you want to say is, I'd really like to talk to a supervisor, please, to verify that you have the right contact information for me. And they're going to give you some pushback. No, just wait, just wait. Be insistent. Once you get on the phone with a supervisor, they can look up your actual account and you'll get a little further. You can also send them an email. The email address is on Prometric's website. Those are a little, takes a little longer to get a response, but it's answered by a supervisor. Okay. Good. All right, game show next Tuesday, not tomorrow. So this is going to be after you graduate, next Tuesday. If you've not attended any of our game shows, this is going to be a really good way for you to figure out what to expect on the written test. I go over 15 test-like questions, give you answer choices. You put the answer that you want to choose in, and then I award points. The program I use actually reads the answers as they come into YouTube and awards points. It's an automated system. And then at the end, we give out prizes, real prizes. So you might want to join us for that. Nope. All right. You guys should all be starting to think about where you want to work. Hospital, nursing home, rehab, walk-in clinic, pediatrics, mental health. I mean, what is your avenue? And I'm going to tell you, if you get this wrong, you're likely to have a very negative employment experience. And unfortunately, that could cause you to leave healthcare altogether. Now, that's a huge waste of your time and money, and I don't want to see that happen. So we've got to stack the deck in our favor a little bit. Okay. I can't do anything about the people that you work with, unfortunately. And that's why a lot of people leave jobs. You know, it's not the job, it's the people you work with. I can't do anything about that, but I can help you decide what setting is most in alignment with your personality. And I'll give you a good example. I am a very high energy person. My brain has to be challenged. I am not the type of person that can do the same thing every single day and not go crazy. I am not routine oriented. The more chaos, the better I thrive. That's just that simple. So for me, working in a home health setting, I would be out of my mind. There's not enough there to stimulate me. I would be getting into all kinds of trouble. So that's not the setting for me. But I have to be able to recognize that about myself. Now, if you're more of a, I want to spoil somebody, I want to do the same thing every day. That way, when I go in, I know exactly, I don't want to be dealing with 14 different patients and staff and conflict and all that. Home health might be for you. We all have different personalities and different strengths and weaknesses. So for me, working in ICU was awesome because I was constantly challenged, learning new stuff. I loved it. Working in hospice was amazing because I got to connect with patients and families at one of the most emotionally vulnerable points in their lives and be able to help them through it. So you have to figure out where you belong. And if you pick this wrong, you're going to really regret it. So another example of this is my oldest son. He does not like change at all. At all. When I used to change my hair color, he would cry. He doesn't do change. So you try to put him in an ER where it's nothing but change. There isn't anything consistent. And he is going to fail spectacularly because that's not his strong suit. But he has got the biggest heart of anybody I've ever met. And he would be ideal working one-on-one with somebody that needed that kind of empathy. You got to know you to figure out where you belong. Now, I've helped you with that by making a quiz. This is a quick 19-question quiz. It doesn't take long to go through. It is not a test. It's not going to ask you about working with equipment, but it's going to ask you your personality. Which of the following statements do you most closely identify with? I like working as a team. I'd rather have my assignment and then be left alone unless I have a problem. Or I don't like people. I want to work alone. Right? So where do you fall in that? And it will compile all of your answers and lead you to the best work environment for you. I would strongly suggest that you take this quiz before you graduate. That way you start to think about where you want to apply. Everybody wants to work in the hospital. The hospital is not the right place for everybody. And if you get into the hospital and it's not the right place for you, you probably will leave healthcare because they're going to make it so miserable for you. Okay. Make sense? I also get asked a lot about agency. There is no agency in this quiz on purpose. Agency or substitute CNAs, you're going into a place that you don't know. You don't know where to find the washcloths. You don't know the patients. You don't know the care plans. You don't know where to clock in. You know nothing. You are literally walking in. Now, how many of you guys have ever had a first day on the job anywhere, right? It's stressful. You don't know anybody. You're the new kid. Well, agency is new kid every day. And the people that are working there aren't going to help you because you're making twice as much as they are for the same job. So they're going to be like, you're on your own. They look at you like they don't look at you like you're there to help. So agency is not something that I recommend for new CNAs. Get some experience under your belt. Make sure that you know how to give a partial bed bath quickly, that you can, you know what to report and how to report it, that you're able to work with minimal supervision, and that you're okay working independently. Get all of that under your belt, and then you can look at being an agency CNA. I don't like agency CNA. I was an agency nurse for years. I don't like agency. They fill a purpose. I get it. If you don't have enough nurses or CNAs, you need somebody to be in that position. But here's the problem. Half of our job is observation and reporting. If you don't know the patient, you have no idea whether their confusion today is normal or something we should be reporting. So things get missed, and patients don't receive good quality of care because there's no continuity. I don't like agency. So you won't see agency in here. Remember, that's advanced. Good? Yeah, I could teach a whole thing on agency. All right, so we have the final skills today. We're going to go over 4 skills. We're going to learn how to help somebody with a bedpan. We're going to learn how to do catheter care, which is peri-care with an extra step. We're going to learn how to empty the urinary drainage bag, and we're going to learn our last range of motion, which is elbow and wrist. And actually, that's where I'm going to start, is with range of motion, elbow and wrist, just to get it out of the way, because it takes me 3 minutes. And then we'll get into the rest. So today is all about elimination. This is elimination day. All right, so don't pay attention to this. Before we go on, go to page 78 and 79 for me. Okay, range of motion. Nothing to learn here. Nothing to learn. We're going to follow the care plan. We're going to do our opening. We'll evaluate if we need gloves. We already know our range of motion steps, and we're going to do our closing. So to remind you of the range of motion steps, you need to know what body part, what exercises, and how many repetitions. Where do we get that information? The care plan. So you read the care plan, you do exactly what it says, put an opening in front, a closing in back, wear some gloves if we're going to touch any body fluids, personal skin, or non-intact skin. That's all you need to know for range of motion. If you go to page 79 at the top of the page, you'll see our care plan. The care plan tells us to provide the following range of motion exercises to the patient's, is it right elbow and wrist? Right elbow and wrist, flexion, extension. Tells us the patient is not able to help with the exercises. So flexion, extension, if you remember, is up, down. That's it. So right elbow, up, down, tells us to provide 3 repetitions of the exercise. 1, 2, 3. And then you go on to the wrist. Flexion, extension is up, down. 1, 2, 3. That's a skill. I would want this skill for the state exam. This is the easiest range. All the range of motions are easy, but this is the easiest range of motion. So it takes about roughly They give you 4 minutes to do it. It takes about roughly 2 minutes. And that's including the opening and the closing. So not much to do with this. For the exam, you're going to get 3 skills assigned to you. And they're going to be like this. Page 25 in your book shows you all of the potential care plan sets. Each care plan set has 3 skills. So you do the skills that they assign you in order. Now you're actually being graded on 5. There's 3 on here, 3 they tell you about, but they're also grading you on 2 other skills that aren't on here that they don't tell you about. One of those is hand washing. They're not going to tell you they're grading you on hand washing because they're not going to tell you to go wash your hands. They're grading you not just on how, but when you wash your hands. That's why they can't really say anything about hand washing. You are graded on it, but you're going to be graded on your first hand washing when you do your opening. Knock, knock, knock. Hi, Miss Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. I'm here to do some range of motion on your right elbow and wrist. Is that okay? Close curtain, wash hands. When you go to the sink and you actually wash your hands, they're grading you. Then you do your skill, do your closing. Thank you very much, Miss Jones. Is there anything else I can get for you while I'm here? Are you comfortable? Would you like a magazine before I go? Here's your call light. Bed's in the low position, environment's clean, open the curtain, go to the sink, wash your hands. When you're washing your hands, they're going to grade that. And then after that, thanks. After that, they're going to tell you, you can simulate hand washing from this point. Just say when you would wash your hands. Tanny asks, is it 3 skills for every state? I'm in New York. Tanny, for New York, yes, it's 3 skills. But the answer to your question is no, it's not 3 skills for every state. There are some states who grade on 5 clinical skills, and there's one, I believe, that makes you do 7. But those skills are done completely differently than what we do. So that's when they're grading you on like 7, they would have you put the head of the bed up. That would be a skill. That's not really a skill, is it? So they break everything down into very small pieces of the skill, and then they just give you a whole bunch of those to demonstrate. Where we do all the same things, we just do it all in one skill. So every state's structured a little bit differently, but New York is exactly the way I'm teaching it in here because New York is a prometric testing state. All right, so Jake, if you can put up range of motion, elbow and wrist, let's watch this video. Remember, look on the bottom for your testing checkpoints. Oh, I'm sorry, range of motion, elbow and wrist will be 3. I got to change all that because I never get to range of motion on time. Hi, Mr. Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Fantastic. I need to do some exercises on your right elbow and wrist. Is that okay?
Yes.
Let me close your privacy curtain. I'm going to go wash my hands, get my supplies. I'll be right back. Okay, now that I've washed my hands, I'm going to have you extend your arm out, palm up. I'm going to do all the exercises. All you have to do is let me know if there's any pain or discomfort. I'm going to bend your wrist up towards your shoulder like you're making a muscle, and we'll do this 3 times. So all the way up, and all the way back to start. Up and all the way back to start. Feel okay?
Yes.
One more. Up and all the way back to start, making sure the elbow is on the bed. Now we're going to move on to the wrist. We're going to move the hand up and down like you're revving a motorcycle, so light fist. You'll feel a little stretch. Let me know if there's any pain. We're going to go forward and back. Feel okay?
Yes.
Again, forward and back. Still good?
Yes.
One more. Forward and back. Okay?
Yes.
Very good. Is there anything else I can get for you while I'm here?
No, thank you.
Are you comfortable?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like a magazine before I go?
No, thank you.
Here's the call light. If you need anything at all, press that red button. We'll be happy to come help.
All right.
Your environment is clean. Bed is in low position. We'll go ahead and open the curtain and I'll go wash my hands. After washing my hands, I'll review the care plan, think about my skill, make any corrections, and then tell the evaluator my skill is done. Lights on. Any questions on that? Oh, we're up to 32 now. Welcome. All right, we got a couple of questions here. In Michigan, do you think I'm going to get 3 skills? Michigan uses DNS Headmaster. I don't remember, guys, there's 50 states. I don't remember all of the states' testing agencies and how many skills each one gets, and it changes. So I can't give you specifics, but I do know that Michigan is DNS Headmaster. So if you go to their website, it'll give you all the information. There's a candidate bulletin there. And then we also have one for Atlanta, Georgia. Again, Georgia uses Credentia, so you would want to go to Credentia's website for testing and see how many skills you're going to get there. That's your best source of information, is to go directly to the testing agency for your state. And you can find this out very quickly just by going into a search engine and typing in CNA testing Delaware or CNA testing New York, or and it'll tell you what the testing agency is. Nope, for the test for Prometric, for the test, everybody is Mr. and Mrs. Jones. The evaluator might get, they might say Adams, or, they might give you a name, but if there's no name provided, just use Jones. Most evaluators, where do they want to be? In their pool. They aren't going to make this overly complicated. Just Jones is good. I am not. I've not been in we were a testing center, so I got to know the test in minute detail. I was behind the scenes, but I am not an evaluator, because you cannot be a trainer and an evaluator. It's a conflict of interest. So I chose to stay in the training role because this really is where I shine. I'm good at explaining things. Evaluators are not allowed to. Evaluators can give no feedback. They can't give any facial expressions. So when you're doing something for the test, if you look up at the evaluator and you're trying to figure out, was that right? Or, what is it? If they're smiling at you, you're going to think, oh, I did that right. If they're frowning, you're going to think, oh, I did that wrong. But that may have nothing to do with what you just did. They might be frowning because their knee hurts. Right? So evaluators can't give you feedback. They can't give any facial, they've got to try hard not to give any facial expressions. They can't say, okay, next time I need you to know that this is where you went wrong and this is how you're going to correct it, because if you do this, this will happen. They can't give any of that. That would drive me insane. To watch these people do this stuff wrong and not be able to correct them. Oh my gosh. I would be a basket case by the time I got home. I need that margarita in my pool. Okay. So, no, I'm not an evaluator. Do you work? Well, it's not that they're miserable. I probably shouldn't give that impression. Some of them like their job, but they still would rather be at home in their pool, drinking their margaritas like the rest of us would, right? Anything that's keeping you from that. So when you work, whatever job you have, and don't tell me, but whatever job you have, you probably work a set amount of hours, right? So like you're there for 4 hours or 8 hours. Most people are coming into this being shift workers, right? You work a shift, set amount of hours. If you work the type of job that if you go in and get all of your work done, you can go home. Are you going to stretch that out for 8 hours? Or are you going to try to get everything done as quick as you can to get home? Because in a real world scenario, right, we'd all rather be home. We go to work because we're forced to. We have bills. So it's not that they don't like their job. It's just that they would rather be home. And you also have to understand that for you, this is trauma inducing. You are being tested. You are stressed out. This is trauma. But for the evaluators, they are watching different people do the same skills all day, every day. And at some point, you just kind of like, again, right? It becomes very monotonous. So for you, it's trauma inducing. But for the evaluators, it's just another day on the job. Does that make sense? Now, there are some very good evaluators. And then there are some that will basically show you they'd rather be anywhere else. But we get that everywhere. You know, there's cashiers that I can tell they don't want to be there today. There's servers that I can tell are having a really bad day. It's everywhere. Good. Any other questions? Any questions on range of motion?
Because nurses use a lot of the abbreviations. Is there a lot of abbreviations for?
There are a few that you are expected to know. So that's going to be in your spiral book on page, is it 132? 132. So you would want to know the ones that are highlighted in gray on page 132, because those are the ones that might show up on the exam. But the exam isn't about knowing terminology, knowing abbreviations, knowing body parts and body systems. That's not something a CNA is going to do on a daily basis. Giving bed baths, that's something a CNA is going to do on a daily basis. Help patients with brushing their teeth or walking, that's something you'll do on a daily basis. So the written test is geared toward things you're going to be doing, not just rote knowledge. Okay, they're not going to ask you what does NPO mean. And it's not bananas, pineapples, and oranges. I guarantee it. Any other questions?
All these skills are grouped in threes on your card. Do they ever change which 3 it is?
They
Or
can't.
Once it's there, it's there.
There's 11 approved skill sets, and they actually follow a formula. So if you look on page 24, I give you the formula they follow. There's one ADL skill, one mobility skill, and one documentation skill. So documentation skills are pulse, respiration, feeding, and drainage bag, which we're going to learn today. So you will get one of those 4, guaranteed. Everybody does. Pulse, respiration, feeding, or drainage bag. You will get one of those 4. You will also get a mobility skill. Now, mobility skills are all the range of motions, ambulate, transferring from bed to wheelchair, and turning a patient over, that side lying position. Those are mobility skills. We're moving somebody. Everything else falls under ADLs. Hand and nail care, foot care, catheter care, peri care, making an occupied bed, bedpan. All of those are ADL skills. It has to do with Remember, ADLs are feeding, grooming, dressing, toileting, right? Those are all ADLs. So they're very specific in how they create these care plan sets. So one mobility skill, one ADL skill, and one documentation skill. So now we have a framework there, a formula to follow, but we can't just throw any mobility skill in with any ADL skill. We have to meet a certain time criteria. Some of these skills take longer than others. Our longest skill was partial bed bath. They give you 19 minutes to do that. So that means if you get partial bed bath, we've got to give you 2 super short skills to go with it. So respirations and one of the range of motions. And that keeps you within that 31 to 33 minute time period. Okay. Good.
Are the skills like all together? Is it like you have to walk in every time? You're graded on opening and stuff?
You are graded on your opening and closing for every skill. So yeah, you've got to treat all 3 of these skills as if they're 3 completely separate patient encounters. So so let me kind of demystify this for you. So in the, for the test, I'm just going to bring you 2 in, show you around. This is where all of your supplies are. This is your 3-drawer cabinet. Everything in the top is grooming, middle is bathing, bottom is toileting. This is your patient. This is how you put the head of the bed up and down. This is your privacy curtain. This is closed. This is open. They show you around, little mini orientation. And then they pick one of you 2 to go first. You're closer, I'll pick you. And the test, the Prometric, the computer picked your skill set. The evaluator did not pick it. The computer did. So the evaluator just finds the right skill set according to what the computer picked for you. And they read it to you. And then they hand it to you. And you get to read it and put it somewhere where you can refer back to it as much as you want. Now, when they read this to you, they're also going to give you some information. They're going to say, that's your patient there, except for the 3rd skill where you're going to use a mannequin. You are going to direct all of your conversation to the patient. You need to do these 3 skills in the order listed. You can start whenever you're ready. Just let me know when you're ready. Take a few minutes to read it over, kind of get settled with it. And then when you're ready, that's when your time will start. You will have 33 minutes to complete these 3 skills. You will treat each skill as its own separate patient encounter whenever you're ready. That's how it's explained to you. And then when it's your turn, they're going to give you a care plan set and they're going to say all of that again.
And remember, you told us how, they can't have the skills, him and I doing something that him and I can't possibly do. Remember, you told us that. So Prometrics, it picks that already according to all that, right?
What do you mean you can't possibly do?
Well, remember you said they're not going to pair somebody I can't move him or something.
Oh yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Right. They're going to pair you up based on the skill set that you have and your partner has.
Okay.
So when you're doing movement skills, transferring out of bed and into a wheelchair, they try real hard not to pair you up with somebody larger than you. They don't want to set you up for failure. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that they can't. It just means that they try hard not to. If we have 8 people scheduled today, and this has happened, by the way, this is a real scenario. We have 8 people scheduled to test today, but only 2 show up. 6 people forfeited their money because they don't give refunds. Only 2 people showed up. So you and somebody else. Well, whoever that somebody else is, they're going to have to be your patient because I'm out of patients. I don't have anybody else. So I'm not telling you that they can't. I'm saying that they try really hard not to. That has happened. They have called me in when we were the testing center. They called me in to be a patient. Yeah, they can use a receptionist. They can use any body, as long as it's a living body, So they can use a receptionist. They won't have the evaluator be the patient though, because they can't evaluate if they're involved in the skill.
So say that like someone failed the exam, would we have to redo the background check and everything?
No, that background check is good for, I believe, 5 years.
Okay.
And then, would you have to repay the entire thing?
You only have to pay for the section you have to repeat. So if you passed the skills and failed the written, I believe the written was $50. So you would pay the $50. If you failed the skills, that would be $105. Good.
And stupid question. Do you have to actually leave the room, knock the door, or can you just like knock on the wall?
You're going to knock on the wall. Yeah, you're not actually going to leave the area. Primarily because testing has to be private. That there's a whole bunch of rules they have to follow, right? But one of those is testing has to be private. And when you open the door to leave, testing then becomes public.
Because I can see me leaving the room and they're going, where the hell are you going?
Yeah, so you're going to stay in the room. They're just going to tell you to knock on a wall or knock on the door, but you don't have to leave. You don't have to go out. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like what I do in here. Something like that. Any other questions?
So say like the last skills on a mannequin, will the patient, the other person leave the room?
Probably. It depends though. And I can't give you all the answers to this because as soon as I do, somebody will come up with a situation that's contrary to it. But so I'll give you an example. Let's just go with, hold on. Okay. You have skill set 9. Skill set 9 is pulse, range of motion, shoulder, and pericare. Not too bad. All right. You have skill set 10. Okay. So your skill set is pulse, a different range of motion, and partial bed bath. You both have pulse. It's okay. If you don't know how to take a pulse by now, it's a little late. Okay. So I would put you two together. Now we're going to have you go first. So you're going to do pulse, range of motion, and then you have to do pericare. So you're her patient for pulse and range of motion. You're not her patient for pericare, but you haven't tested yet. So I'm not going to send you out. You're going to hang out. Hold the wall up over there. Go stand against the wall. You would do your 3 skills. Now, your turn, you would do pulse and range of motion on her, different range of motion, but range of motion on her. And now it's time for you to do partial bed bath. Well, you can go out. You're done testing. I don't need you to hang out. You would go back to the waiting room. Does that make sense? Okay. We're not sending you out to the waiting room because you still have to test. We need you to stay in here. We can send you out because you've already tested. We don't need you. Good? Make sense? Okay. You're overthinking it, guys. They're going to tell you everything you need to know. They're good at their jobs. They'll lead you through it. All you have to know is follow the care plan, follow the principles, and focus on the patient. If you do those 3 things, there is no way you can fail. No way. No way. Follow the care plan, follow the principles, focus on the patient. That's the course, guys. That is the entire course. That is everything I have taught you. Follow the care plan. That was day 1. Follow the principles. We've learned all of them, and you can all recite them. I made you last class. And focus on the patient, which I have talked about every single class. If you have done that, you will pass the test. The principles tell you exactly how. you're going to wash something, what don't you add to the basin? Soap. How do you get water? Sink. And what do you use to turn the faucet on? Paper towel. You got to check the water. What should it feel like? Warm. Who else checks it? Patient does. Whatever you wash you, whatever you rinse you, dry. How do you keep your table from getting wet? Barrier. You guys know all this. What do you need me for? No, we didn't talk about it because it's not a tested skill. You're not going to have to demonstrate male pericare. Your book does go over it though. And it's the same, right? We always move away from the urethra. It's the exact same. Where with females, since the anatomy is flat, you move away from the urethra, you know, in one direction because the anatomy is flat. With male genitalia, the anatomy is not flat. So we move away from the urethra in a, you know, down the shaft in a circular motion. That's it. So always move away from the urethra. And that your yellow book talked about. Okay. Good?
Okay.
Yes. Jay, which one of these links provides the book with the skill testing formulas? Okay. Jay, that's going to be our CNA skills study guide. So if you're on FLCNA training, which you might be watching us on, I'm not sure, but FLCNA training, it's the blue, red, white, and blue spiral book, the CNA skills study guide. Jake can also put a link in the description for that, and it'll be located on page 25. But I also have a video on it on my YouTube channel. Just look up skills categories. I have a video on it. I have a video on everything. Everything. Yeah, guys, we have probably 30 to 40 videos that I have not shown you in this class that are in the online course. If you're not doing the online course, you're missing out on content. That online course really is there to help you. It'll put into practice what you're learning. All right, so speaking of learning, let's learn. This is going to be assisting a resident with a bedpan. This is on page 147. There's nothing new to learn here. Nothing at all. You guys all know to follow the care plan. You know to do your opening. You know to evaluate if we need gloves. Spoiler alert, you do. You know to use a barrier. You know that the patient always has to be in the middle of the bed. You know how to clean every basin. There's nothing new here. And you know how to do your closing. So now what we have to focus on are skills specific steps. What do I need to know about bedpan beyond all of those steps? Now, what's interesting? Oh, yep. Hold on one second. I don't bend the way I used to. Oh. Darka, do we have to talk to the mannequin as if it is a live person? Yes, you do. And the reason that you do is because at some point it will be a live person. And they want to know that you know how to talk to the live person. What are you going to say when it is a real person laying in that bed? So yes, you should. Here it is. All right.
Jay said thank you as well.
Very good. All right. You guys see this? I know it's hard to see. It's a long way away. I get it. And these are all up here. You guys can all take a look at these. But by now you should be able to put these pieces together. If you look at this, this is the actual checklist for bedpan. Anything that does not have a color on it is a skill-specific step. Anything without a color. Do you guys see that there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps out of this whole thing that have to do with the bedpan? 8 steps. That's it. that have to do with the bedpan. The rest of it has to do with the opening and skill rules and the closing and wearing gloves and cleaning your basin, all of this other stuff. Look how many check things are checked off. Now, if you think this one requires all the principles, this is pericare. When they're grading you on pericare, it is almost none of what you think they're grading you on, right? You're focused on pericare. No, they're focused on, where did you put that towel after you used it? Did you throw it on the floor? Because that's gross. Did you wear gloves when you were doing this? Because you're in there no square. That's gross. Did you talk to the patient while you were doing this? Because if you stayed silent while you're in there no square, that's creepy. That's what they're grading you on. You think they're grading you on pericare. Yeah, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps out of all of that that actually has to do with pericare. That's it. This is why I teach you the principles. Because once you learn those principles, look at all this stuff you get checked off. Absolutely. Well, you can, for the test, right? We don't know these patients. She doesn't have much of a personality. You're not going to get a whole lot out of her. But I can certainly tell her what I'm doing. I'm going to wring this washcloth out really, really well and put some soap on it. I'm going to talk my skill out, because if I don't, if I am completely silent, think about where you're about to be. Do you want somebody completely silent there? It's pretty high on the creep meter. It really is. So we got to at least tell them what we're doing. Yeah. The other thing is, you don't want to touch somebody in a sensitive area with a wet washcloth without them knowing that you're there. There will be a clinch factor. Okay. There should be no surprises here. No surprises. So talking them through it is a really good idea.
We just act like when we say, I'm getting ready, oh, they give them permission. Yes, they give them permission.
Yeah, the evaluators may say that's fine. The evaluators usually play the voice of the mannequin.
That's definitely something we need to be asking permission.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Every skill requires permission, but especially that one. So before we get into this, let me explain that, because that really is a very important subject. When you are working with dementia patients, especially, your dementia patients will be resistant to pericare. They will be. And whether you can get them to allow you to do pericare is going to have a lot to do with your approach. How many of you guys would be completely fine with a random stranger coming into your home this evening about 7:30, taking your clothes off and performing very intimate cleaning? How many of you guys are okay with that? That's what we're doing. Do you think you need to get to know this person before you let him take your clothes off? If you are a stranger, you have to remember that you are a stranger. And to dementia patients, everybody is a stranger, even their own families. People they have known their entire life are strangers. Your approach is going to matter. If you go in there all like, come on, let's go, I got to get this done, and you're rushing them, they are going to resist. They are going to clamp, they're going to hit, they're going to push you away, because they are assuming the worst. Your approach is going to matter here. So being calm, moving slow, talking to the patient, lowering your tone of voice and your speech. Do you see what I'm doing here? This is very calming. And it's all about my approach. If I walk in there and go, okay, come on, I'm going to pull your shirt up. I'm going to pull I got to get you cleaned up. Quit fighting me. Of course they're fighting. They think you're about to accost them. You would fight too. Healthcare is not about you. It's not about your tasks. It's not about what you have to get done. It's about the patient. And if you don't take anything else I say out of here, please remember it's always about the patient. Without them, you don't have a reason to be there. You don't have a job. But when we get out there and we start working, we start to make it about us, our routine, our tasks, our whatever. It's not about you. So should we talk to them? Absolutely. It's about them. They're not a byproduct of these skills. They're not a lump of flesh we're doing these skills on. We are helping them. And help isn't help if it doesn't help. Does that make sense? It's all about your approach. But yeah, talk to them. Absolutely. I'll tell you what, when I get older and somebody comes at me to clean me, I better know why they're there because I will fight. And I pack a punch. Don't let this nice exterior fool you. I pack a punch. So if your patients are striking you or punching you, guys, you need to back up. Don't restrain them. Don't fight back. You need to figure out what you did to cause this. Your patient does not trust you. That's what it boils down to. Your patient does not trust you, and it's not their responsibility to trust you. It's your responsibility to earn their trust. So who failed? Good? Make sense? Okay. All right. Now, that's not to say that there aren't patients out there that just are mean. Yes, there are mean patients. But again, help doesn't help if it doesn't help. All right. So we know now that there's no new principles learned. Let's get into our skill-specific steps here. So page 148 at the top of this page gives us our care plan. It tells us the resident has requested a bedpan. The resident is not wearing undergarments and is able to wipe self, and they can move as directed. I love that last line. That helps us tremendously. On the state exam, you can ask your patient to lift their hips. That makes this skill so much easier. If you have a patient that can't lift their hips, you turn them on their side, put the bedpan up against the butt, and then lay them back on that bedpan. But when you go to take them off the bedpan, you better hold it flat. Because when they roll off of it, if you don't hold that bedpan down, it's going to roll with the patient. And now you get to change the sheets too. So for the test, they're going to make this super easy on us. You can just ask the patient to lift their hips. Now, let me go back a page real quick. Let's look at the bottom. Who's our patient for this? Yeah, a live testing student, one of you. One of you. This is a simulation skill. You are not actively going to pee in the bedpan, and you're not going to have your clothing removed. You're going to stay fully clothed, please. We're going to put a hospital gown on over your clothing. We are pretending. But somebody's really going to put a bedpan under your butt. You're not going to use it. Please do not use it. and they're going to take the bedpan out from under your butt. Okay, good? Make sense? That's why that second sentence is so important. It says the resident is not wearing undergarments and can wipe self. So during the test, you have on a patient gown over your clothing. If somebody is trying to take your pants off, the evaluator is going to say, look at that care plan. They're not wearing undergarments. Don't take their clothing off. It gives, remember I said that nurses have to follow the care plan too. It gives them something concrete to point at to say, don't undress that person. Same thing if they try to clean you up. That evaluator is going to point to that sentence and say, they're able to do that themselves. Do not do that. Okay, good. Boy, we like this skill. All you're doing, guys, is putting a bedpan under them and taking the bedpan out. We're going to go clean it, but there's nothing in the bedpan. So you're going to dump pretend pee into a toilet. Actually, you're dumping pretend pee in a pretend toilet. And then you're going to rinse the bedpan, dry it, and put it away. There's really nothing to this. This skill is all about knowing all of those principles, though. That's what they're grading you on here.
As we dry per policy, per facility policy.
You'll disinfect it, right. For the test, you're just rinsing, drying, storing. That's it. Rinse, dry, store.
I don't say that.
No, just rinse, dry, store. That's it. But you do want to know how to disinfect a bedpan, because all my care plans have you disinfecting that bedpan before you put it back in the drawer. Rinsing is not enough. It's like your toilet at home, right? You probably don't scrub it every single time you use it, but you probably need to about once a week because stuff gets built up in there, right? Same thing with bedpan. I don't want you putting a bedpan back in the drawer unless it's clean. Come on in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to-
That's okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna have an auto glass witness to all of you to see if anybody else had any damage on their windshield.
Anybody need auto glass? Nope.
All right.
We're good. Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
All right. So we have step-by-step instructions on page 148. You've got all of your supplies listed there at the bottom. Now I'm going to, I want to take a time out here real quick and explain something. I told you earlier today to make sure that you're watching the videos where I'm wearing the black scrubs. Those are the newest videos. The older videos that we have where I'm wearing blue scrubs, there has been a change between that skills demonstration and what we have now. And I want you to keep this in mind. So everything on this page and everything where I'm wearing black scrubs is correct. The old way, I did not use this overbed table for the bedpan, and I still prefer that. I don't like, me personally, this is just a nurse thing, I don't like a bedpan being on an eating surface. Even with a barrier, for me, it's pretty high on my gross meter. Okay. I don't like bedpans on this table, but the checkpoint requires that we use the table with a barrier to have our supplies. So the video is showing the right way. This is showing the right way. But if you watch my old one, I don't like that I can't do it that way. The other change is that for every other skill, we use a privacy blanket. This skill is very specific, telling us to leave the patient covered with a top sheet while they're using the bedpan. So we're not using a privacy blanket for this skill. I don't like that either because splashing happens. Let's talk about splashback. This is a bedpan. Don't touch these without gloves. Don't do what I do. This is a bedpan. This is where the urine or feces goes. It's not very deep. Now, when you have a patient sitting on the bedpan, their undercarriage is going to sag down in. Not much room there, which means you only have about this far between the undercarriage and the bedpan. Now, this is a flat plastic surface, so any pee that comes out is going to splash back. Make sense? Pee is under pressure. Your whole patient's underside is going to get wet. There's nothing we can do about that. But it also means that this gap here between the legs will let some of that splashback urine out. And it's probably going to get on the sheet. So I don't like having the patient covered with a top sheet. I prefer a privacy blanket because it's something you're going to take off of the bed and pull the sheet back up at the end of the skill. During the test, we're not going to use a privacy blanket. We're going to keep the sheet on the patient so we can get the checkpoint. However, if in a clinical setting, you're not using a privacy blanket, you need to look at that sheet and make sure it's not wet before you end the skill. If it's wet, please change it. Okay? When you get out there and you work, you can choose whether or not to use a privacy blanket. If you choose not to, make sure you're looking at that sheet. Make sense? Good? Okay. Bedpans and other urinary items are always kept in the bottom drawer of your 3-drawer cabinet. Always kept in the bottom drawer. There for now. All right, so here is our care plan. The resident has requested a bedpan. The resident is not wearing undergarments and is able to wipe themselves. And the resident is able to move as directed. That last sentence tells us that we can ask the patient to lift their hips or roll during this skill, whichever you prefer. Lifting hips, way easier. Lifting hips. But if we're going to put a bedpan under somebody and we know there's going to be splashback, then we've got to have something on the bed to help catch any urine that might come out. What could we put on the bed that is absorbent and waterproof? A Chucks, sure. So we're going to put a Chucks under the patient. You already know how to do this. Clean rolls toward me, dirty rolls away. So you're going to put the Chucks under the patient, put the bedpan on top of the Chucks, and then let them go. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. And then at the end, you'll pull the Chucks and the bedpan out together. It's actually a pretty quick skill. But I want to talk to you about bedpans really quick because this is one of the areas that CNAs are most likely to violate a care plan. Most likely to violate a care plan. And you'll do it without even realizing that you're doing it. So toileting methods have to be in the care plan. In fact, it's the very first thing that we look at as nurses, because I know at some point you're going to have to go during this shift. So toileting is one of the very first things we look at. And there's a lot of different ways that we can toilet. Now, in a perfect world, you'll go to the bathroom without my involvement. That would be ideal. I prefer that. That's called bathroom privileges. You just go when you need to go. Just get up and go. I'm not involved. You might need some help, though. That would be bathroom with assist. Still preferred. I'd rather you go to the bathroom. And if at all possible, that's what your care plan is going to say, bathroom privileges or bathroom with assist. But if the patient can't get all the way to the bathroom, we bring a bedside commode to the side of the bed. That requires a doctor's order. It also requires that it's in the care plan. And this is where CNAs often go off script. If the patient is having trouble getting to the bathroom or is just too slow, a lot of CNAs will just go get a bedside commode, bring it to the side of the bed, and let the patient go. You don't have a doctor's order for that. It is not on your care plan. you guys see how you can get into serious trouble, like legal trouble, like helping somebody out of bed and they fall and die trouble? Because you have changed the care plan and you did not have the right to do that. Same thing, you can't give them a bedpan unless it's on the care plan. You don't get to make this decision. The care plan will tell you how they toilet, and by God, that's how they toilet. If they cannot toilet that way, can you change that? Who do you tell? The nurse. The process is there, but this, for some reason, is where CNAs go off script all the time. More problems happen for CNAs with toileting than any other skill. So be careful here. Your care plan tells you how to toilet, and that's actually by doctor's order. It's not even a nurse thing. That is by doctor's order.
What about like whenever they have to go, like if you have to go get the nurse, it means they have an accident. What, like, do you just let that happen?
Yeah, we'll clean them up. Yeah. But okay, so let me give you a scenario that goes along with what you're saying. So our care plan says bathroom privileges with assist, right? So your patient normally gets up, goes to the bathroom with your help, right? And you go to get them up and they're like super weak, like their legs aren't even holding them, but they've got to go to the bathroom. Well, is it safe to get them to the bathroom at this point? No, somebody's going to fall, probably both of you, but somebody's going to fall. So we need to get them back into bed. If they have an accident, we're going to clean it up, but they're not making it to the bathroom. And any action on our part is not going to change that. But here's the real problem. They were able to go to the bathroom, right? Our thing says bathroom with assist. They were able to do that. So this is now a change. Why? That's what we need to know. What makes this different? Why is this patient all of a sudden so weak that they can't bear their own weight? It's a change. Is it because they had a stroke? Is it because their blood sugar dropped? Is it because a medication kicked in? Is it because they have multiple sclerosis? Is it because, the list is endless, right? But the problem is it's no longer a toileting issue. It's why did they change? And that's why we need the nurse.
I was wondering why you didn't help them and then report the change to the nurse, because like you said before, whenever someone can't go fast or something like that.
Right. It absolutely is a dignity issue, for sure. It is a dignity issue, but safety comes first. Safety always comes first. So if you can't get them to the bathroom safely, you need to stop. Safety has to come first. Dignity is important, absolutely, for sure, but safety always trumps dignity. Okay.
I know the quickness of the hospital and how everything's going so fast always in the hospital. Honestly, is there a lot of conflict with nurses and CNAs when we're trying to do everything right? We just and they're swamped. Everybody's swamped, and they won't. And then at what point do we say, well, I wasn't trained? Like how you say, I wasn't trained to do that. In the middle of everybody's going crazy, everything's happening. Does the conflict then develop between the nurse and the CNA because you're not doing what she's telling you, but you're not trained, but she's trying to hurry up and get everything done? Does it happen a lot?
Okay, I can't say a lot because that's a very, very specific situation, but I will tell you, you just nailed the problem on the head though, right? So everybody wants to work in a hospital, but being a brand new CNA, is that really the right place for you? Because hospitals are going to require a certain level of competence and a certain level of speed, right? Because everything is crazy. There's admissions, there's discharges, there's procedures, there's all kinds of things going on. So is that really the best place for you to start? Well, that's a personal call. If you're a very quick learner and you've got these skills down and you practiced and you're good and you're good with change and you can adapt very, very quickly and you can pick stuff up really, really easily, well, then the hospital may be just fine for you. If you're the type of person that needs a little more time, a little more easing into it, if you're very conflict averse, a hospital may not be the right place for you to start your career. Make sense? I've had students that got out of here and went straight into the hospital, never looked back, and did absolutely fantastic. I have people that went to the hospital and went to work, and one day later called me in tears. It depends a lot on your personality. You kind of have to evaluate that for yourself. Okay. Good? Good. All right. So when nurses, and I need you to understand this, when nurses are trying to figure out the whole toileting thing, right? Doctors will give an order, nurses evaluate that order for appropriateness. We look at, can the patient get to the bathroom with or without assist? If not, is a bedside commode appropriate? Can I bring a portable toilet to the bedside? If not, is the patient even continent? I mean, remember, we have a whole process for that. If they're incontinent, having a toileting process isn't going to help because they can't hold it. Is a catheter appropriate? Now, catheters we only use if the pee can't come out on its own or if it's inconvenient for it to come out on its own. If none of those things work, then my very last resort is a bedpan. That's very last on the list on purpose. Bedpans are not they're not a good idea. They work in a pinch, but they're not the best option. And that's because of a psychological restriction. You've been trained since you were this tall. Don't pee in the bed. Don't pee in the bed. Don't pee in the bed. And certainly don't poop in the bed. Just because I put a plastic pan under your butt does not mean your brain is going to let you go because you are still in the bed. And even if you do go, it's going to be horribly uncomfortable because your undercarriage is sinking down in. You're getting all wet. This is not a great idea. If we have no other options, then we'll use it. But it is not our first choice. Not our first choice. One of the worst bed sores I ever saw as a nurse, one of the very worst bed sores I ever saw as a nurse, had to do with bedpan. CNA put the bedpan under the patient in the evening. Forgot. Shift change. Patient was nonverbal. The patient had been on the bedpan for, it was over 12 hours. I don't know exactly how long, but it was over 12 hours. Now, I want you to think about this. This is where the butt goes, right? Patient sitting here. This is where the butt goes. But as the patient is sitting on it, if they're heavy, this edge, have you ever sat on a toilet for like more than 5 minutes? It leaves a ring, right? Well, the longer you sit there, the deeper the ring gets. This is no different than the toilet seat. This pressed into the skin. There was a ring. And because nobody took the patient off of the bedpan, the ring got deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and eventually cut into the skin and all the way down to the bone. Because somebody put a patient on a bedpan. Patient did not have the order for a bedpan. And nobody checked the patient overnight. So this patient ended up with a bed sore on their lower back that ended up being about this big around, all the way down to the bone. Now, unfortunately, it got infected and it did ultimately take the patient's life after several months. Help isn't help if it doesn't help. Did we help this patient? We got to get better about this, guys. Don't put a bedpan under somebody that doesn't have an order for a bedpan. It's a last resort on purpose. Tasia, I hope I said that right. Very informative. I passed my clinical exam and been certified for a week now. Thank you so much. Congratulations to you. That's awesome. Awesome job. All right. Okay. So good. Last resort. Remember that toileting is a doctor's order, but it's overseen by the nurse. So the nurse will influence that. Nurse will tell the doctor information they need to make the right decision or change the order. We, as CNAs, don't get to change this. You will have some sort of a scenario on the state exam about toileting because the state exam realizes this is the one area that CNAs are most likely to mess up and go off script. All right. So we're going to place a pad under the patient. We use that whole clean rolls toward me, dirty rolls away thing to put the pad under the patient. So I'll roll it up toward me, have the patient lift their hips and unroll it under the patient. Once we have the checks in place, we can put the bedpan there. Now, when you're putting a bedpan under a patient, if it looks like a toilet seat, it's where the butt goes. Do not ask your patient to perch on this. It's just uncomfortable. So the wider part of the bedpan goes under the wider part of the patient. All right. Now, this is the most important step for bedpan, and it's the one that you're probably least likely to think about on your own. So let me go through this and show you. Let's pretend this is my bed. This is my patient, and this is my bedpan. If I put a bedpan underneath the patient, what does it do to their middle? Raises it up. How many of you ladies can pee uphill? That's what we're asking this person to do. And if you think peeing uphill is hard, try having a bowel movement uphill. Not going to happen. Now, even if our patient was successful in peeing uphill, that means that urine is going to run right back right up their back and into their hair. And I don't know about you, but that scores a 10 on my gross meter. So when you put a bedpan underneath somebody's bottom, you have to put the head of the bed up to a normal elimination position. This is the most important step of using a bedpan. The most important step, because it doesn't matter what else you do. If you don't put the head of the bed up, they're not going to be able to go. Good. Now they're sitting on the bedpan, pressing it down into the mattress. You can't get that bedpan out from under them in that position. You need to put the head of the bed back down after they've used the bedpan so that you can remove the bedpan. Head of the bed, most important step of this skill. But it's not one that you may have thought of on your own. Okay. Good. Good. Do I want to touch that bed? No, let's back up here. We have gloves on. We put a chucks under the patient. And remember, our care plan says they're not wearing undergarments. So our gloves now have butt juice on them. They've touched a bare butt juice. Do you want to touch that bed controller with butt juice gloves? So once we get the bedpan and the chucks in place, take your gloves off to put the head of the bed up. Once you get the patient in a good seated position, you're going to give them their call light and their toilet paper and tell them to call you when they're done. You're not going anywhere, though. You don't have any other patients. There is nowhere for you to go. You're going to step on the other side of that curtain. You're going to wait. Now, for the test, you're not going to wait long because they're going to say, I'm done. And you'll go finish the skill. But in a clinical setting, you're not going to stand there. That's pretty creepy. Very few people can go with an audience. So in a clinical setting, if you've got somebody on a bedpan, don't stand there. Wash your hands, leave the room. Go take care of somebody else. Come back in when the patient is done, or come back in 10 minutes and check on them. Okay, good, good. But for the test, there's nowhere for us to go. We have no other patients. You don't need to wash your hands. You're not leaving the patient environment. Sit tight. Do you understand the difference there?
On the, I know you mentioned in the care plan for the test it says that they can clean themselves. In the clinical setting, is that?
No, you're going to have to help them.
I was gonna say,
No, because they can't reach down in there's no, there's no space. It's very unrealistic. Very unrealistic. Yeah. Now, here's the thing about care or about bedpans. When you have an order for a bedpan, remember it's last resort, right? Your patient's got a psychological restriction. You're probably going to have to do this 2 or 3 times before they can go. You're going to put a bedpan there and they're not going to be able to use it. Or they might go just a little bit. 20 minutes later, they're going to hit that call light and say, oh, I got to go. You're going to put a bedpan there and they're not going to be able to go. 20 minutes later, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, my back teeth are floating. I need help. Please get me that bedpan. And then they might be able to go, maybe. But this is going to be kind of an ongoing thing because bedpans are hard to use. So we need to be very patient with our patients. And we need to understand that this is a hard skill for your patient. But there's a couple things we can do to make it easier. First of all, remember that whole audience thing we talked about? If you can get the roommate out of the room, now's a good time to do that. Take them for a walk, right? The less people you have in that space, the more likely you have success. The other thing you can do is turn the water on. The sound of water helps with urinary letdown, with the reflex, but it also helps mask sound. You can take care of odors before they happen by using a little air freshener if that's a concern for your patient. Okay. Good. It's really important to understand the difficulties your patient might experience with a bedpan so that we don't take out frustration on the patient. Just make it as easy as possible for them to go. Now, another trick that I like using with patients that really have a hard time using a bedpan is I will spray warm water or have a basin of warm water for them to put their hands in, particularly their wrists. That helps with the urinary letdown reflex. It does. And we learned that with 12-year-old mean girls. Sleepovers. Yep. You can learn a lot from 12-year-old mean girls. Yep. If you put hands in warm water, a lot of times it will help the patient pee. So those of you that don't know what I mean by 12-year-old mean girls, go look it up. But it's important that we make this as easy as possible on our patient because the deck is really stacked against them here. Okay, good. So gloves off before we put the head of the bed up, and then we're just going to step on the other side of the curtain and wait. We're not going to wait long. They're going to immediately say, I'm done. And then you're going to come back in. We're going to put the head of the bed back down. Now, once we put the head of the bed back down, let me go back. Remember, you have to give them their call light and toilet paper because they can wipe themselves. Our care plan said so. Once you come back and put the head of the bed back down, then we're going to put some gloves on, and we want to take that chucks and bedpan out together because you cannot carry an open container of urine through a room. If you trip, you're going to go face first in that urine. It's also a privacy issue. Nobody needs to see what's in that bedpan. So we're going to use that chucks that was under the patient to cover the bedpan. You're going to take it to the bathroom, dump the pretend pee in the bedside commode or the toilet, whatever you got. And then you're going to rinse that bedpan out and dump the rinse water in the toilet or bedside commode. And then disinfect it if we have to, per facility policy. And then we're going to dry it and put it away using our paper towels. Same process we've always used with every basin. So dump it, rinse it, dump it, set it down, spray it if needed. Paper towel to pick it up, paper towel to dry the inside, paper towel to dry the outside, and one more for the drawer. Along the way, I'll get my supplies. and put it in the drawer, opening the drawer with that paper towel. Remember, my gloves are dirty. Once I've done all that, I can remove my gloves. Okay.
So there's not going to be a toilet in the testing area. right?
Usually a bedside commode.
Okay, so we just dump, like, people tend to dump it in there. Okay.
And you will dump the rinse water in there too.
Okay.
I mean, you're really going to use the bedside commode for the rinse water. Okay. The evaluators clean that out. All it ever has in it is water, but the evaluators clean it out. After we have removed our gloves, we need to give them a hand wipe because they wipe themselves. They clean themselves up. So they need a hand wipe to wipe, to clean up with. And then once you've given them a hand wipe, now I know where their hands have just been. I don't have gloves on because I took my gloves off to give them their hand wipe. So I'm going to get a paper towel for that hand wipe. I don't touch that hand wipe with my hands. I use a paper towel. Or I'll pick up the trash can and hold it for them. But I won't touch that paper towel or that hand wipe. All right, now I can remove that privacy blanket, put it in dirty linen, and then I'm going to do my closing. Thank you very much, Ms. Jones. Is there anything else that you need while I'm here? Are you comfortable? Would you like a magazine? Bed's in the low position. Your environment's clean. Here's your call light. Open the curtain. Go wash my hands. Same way we do with all of them. I want to talk to you about bedpan cleaners, though. This is a very useful piece of equipment in acute care settings. This is on a toilet. It looks like a little shower head. It bends forward over the toilet bowl. When it's upright like this, it's not going to spray because it would spray out and get everybody wet. It only sprays when you pivot it forward and it's right on top of that toilet bowl. So it sprays down into the bowl. And it is a bedpan cleaner. That's what it is. That's what it does, is it sprays like a shower head, and it makes cleaning this really easy because you're cleaning it right over the toilet bowl, and then you can dump it into the toilet. It's a great invention. The problem is that it's water under pressure hitting a flat plastic surface, and that's going to give us splashback. Now, this is human waste. We do not want this on our uniform, and we don't want it getting into any of our holes. So if you're going to use that, you want to cover your clothing with one of those yellow isolation gowns that we throw away after we use, and you want to protect your face with a mask and face shield. Not for odor. Those masks do not help with odor. But that mask and face shield will prevent any fecal matter or urine from getting into any of your holes. Okay. So this is a great feature in acute care settings that help you clean bedpans very effectively, but you have to dress for the job. Good. You won't have that in the test, but I do want you to know that it does exist.
Say you are going to clean the bedpan and you're going back to get it and clean it. Would you come in with that suit, or would you change in the bathroom before you clean?
I would, while the patient is going, I would put the gown and my face protection on. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a little scary for patients. So anytime I'm wearing that, all I tell them is, yeah, because there's a possibility of splashing, I just need to protect my uniform so it doesn't get dirty. And patients will do just like that. Oh, okay, that makes sense. But if you don't say anything, you look like you are getting ready to invade Mars, and it's a little scary for them. Yeah. So I usually try to warn them. All right, bedpan position. Remember that you're putting the bedpan under the patient before you put the head of the bed up, but the bed is going to bend where the patient bends, which is right where the bedpan is. So when you put that bedpan in place under their butt and you put the head of the bed up, that bedpan is going to shift forward or back. It's going to shift because the bed is bending right there. So I usually, when I put that in, I usually will try to put it a little bit further to the back, because I know it's probably going to shift forward. So just a little bit further to the back. But I tell the patient when I put the head of the bed up, hey, that bedpan's probably going to shift a little. You can adjust it so that it's comfortable for you. you want the bedpan to catch whatever it's meant to catch. Sometimes it's a little further forward. Sometimes it may need to be a little further backward. You need it to catch whatever it's going to catch.
Patients able to move and everything, and as directed, can't you just put the bed up first, then have him lift up?
So that's really hard for patients. Right now, you're sitting in a chair without using your feet. Can you lift your butt off of your chair? Sure. How far though? How, okay. That's actually pretty rare. Most people don't have enough upper body strength to lift their entire body up at least that far, So it's actually easier when you're laying down to do a plank bridge. You get your hips up higher. Does that make sense? So some people are able to get their butt up from a seated position, but it's actually pretty rare. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. So when you're practicing, and we will have hopefully some practice time today if I can quit talking. When you're practicing, practice it both ways, and you'll see what I mean. Okay. So just remember, when you get the bedpan in place, it's not like set there forever. It's going to shift a little, and the patient can adjust it. That's fine. All right. So let's go ahead and watch this video. It's going to have really good close-ups of putting the chucks under the patient and putting the bedpan under the patient, so you can see where that bedpan is going to be positioned. Okay. So Jacob, bedpan.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Fantastic. I understand you need a bedpan. Can I help you with that?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm going to close your curtain, wash my hands, get my supplies, and I'll be right back. After I've washed my hands, I'm going to get my supplies. I'll start with a barrier, unfolding it with the absorbent side facing up, and this is going to give me a clean place to put my clean supplies. And we're going to start with the chucks, and then I'll move over here to the patient environment. I need a set of gloves, a second set of gloves, hand wipes, and I'll need the bedpan, which will be in the bottom drawer. I'm going to open the drawer, but I'm not going to touch the bedpan until I put my gloves on. We'll go ahead and put the gloves on. I'll take the barrier and prepare it by holding it up with the absorbent side facing me, and I'm going to roll it toward me. And we're going to set that aside. I'll get the bedpan and the toilet paper out of the drawer, and we'll put those on the bedside table. Now we're ready to start the skill. Okay, Mr. Jones, I'm going to ask you in just a moment to bend your knees and put your feet flat on the bed and you're going to lift your hips up for me so I can unroll this chucks underneath you. This is going to protect your bedding while you use the bedpan. Okay? So I'm just going to loosen this sheet up a little bit so we've got some working room. I'll take my prepared chucks and we're going to place it on the bed where we're going to unroll it under the patient. It needs to be under the middle of the patient where the bedpan is going to go to protect the sheets from becoming soiled. Mr. Jones, can you bend your knees? And I want you to lift your hips as high as you can go. Thank you. I'll unroll that chucks all the way to the other end. Okay, you can relax. There you go. Now we're going to put the bedpan under the patient. The wider end of the bedpan goes under the patient's buttocks. So this will be toward the foot of the bed. Mr. Jones, can you lift for me? Thank you. Go ahead and come down. Make sure that that's centered appropriately. All right. And now I can remove this set of gloves. We'll throw these gloves away, and I'm going to put the head of the bed up. Mr. Jones, I'll put the head of the bed up now. That bedpan may shift a little bit. Feel free to move it as you need to, and let me know when you're comfortable. And you can relax your legs. So you comfortable? Okay. Here's your toilet paper. Here's your call light. I'm just going to step on the other side of the curtain and let me know when you're done. Okay, Mr. Jones, are you done?
I am.
Very good. Let me lower the head of the bed. There we go. And I'm going to put my gloves on. All right, Mr. Jones, in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to bend your knees and lift your hips off of the bedpan, but wait until I tell you because I need to hold that bedpan flat.
Okay.
Okay? I'm just going to move this out of the way. I'll take a corner of the chucks. Go ahead and bend your knees. Don't lift yet. I'm going to take a corner of the chucks and hold the front of that bedpan down as he lifts. Go ahead and lift, and I'll pull the whole chucks and bedpan out. Relax. And we're going to take this to the bathroom for disposal. I'll bring the bedpan over to the patient bathroom area. We'll unwrap the chucks from around the bedpan and dispose of the chucks. And then we're going to dispose of the contents of the bedpan into the bedside commode. For testing, this is a simulation skill. There will not be anything in the bedpan, but we're still going to follow through with the simulation. We'll lift up both the seat and the lid. We're going to dispose of the contents of the bedpan into the bedside commode or toilet. And then we're going to rinse the bedpan. We want to put the rinse water into the commode as well. Now I'm going to set the bedpan down into the sink, disinfect it per facility policy, and then use a paper towel to pick it up. I'll take a paper towel to dry the inside. Throw that away. Another paper towel to dry the outside. Throw that away. And then one more for the drawer. Now that I've cleaned the bedpan, I'll get the toilet paper, place it in the bedpan, open the drawer with the paper towel, and then we're going to position this bedpan in the drawer and close the drawer with the paper towels. I'll then throw these paper towels away. We're going to remove the gloves and throw those away. I'll get a paper towel. Mr. Jones, I'm going to give you a hand wipe so you can wash your hands after using the bedpan. Go ahead and take a hand wipe. And then I'll collect that hand wipe after you're done with the paper towel.
Thank you.
This keeps me from touching the hand wipe. We'll throw this away. We're going to throw the barrier away. Clean our work environment. So I'll pull the sheet up, make sure that it looks good. And here's your call light, Mr. Jones. If you need anything at all, just press that red button and we'll be happy to come back and help you. I'm going to remove your bedside table and open your privacy curtain. Is there anything else I can get for you while I'm here?
No, thank you.
Are you comfortable?
Yeah.
Would you like a magazine before I go?
No, thank you.
Okay, your bed is in the low position. Your environment is clean. I'm going to go wash my hands. After washing my hands, I'll review the care plan, think about my skill, make any corrections, and then tell the evaluator my skill is done. All right, questions? I know, bright light. Oh. Okay, we're going to roll into the next two skills pretty quickly. I'm going to get through them. We're going to watch both videos back to back. So I'm going to do both lectures, and then we're going to watch both videos, and then the rest of the class will be practice, and you can take a break after I'm done talking, okay? This won't take me long to get through, but I do have a few things I need to go over with you. So we're going to start with catheter care. This is on page 158. The bottom of the screen, you can see that this skill takes somebody with your level of experience about 15 minutes or less. This is going to be done on a mannequin. This is peri-care with an extra step. So this looks a whole lot like peri-care, because if we're cleaning the catheter, we have to clean the skin around the catheter, peri-care. But what we don't have to do is clean the backside. Remember with peri-care, the patient was incontinent. They're laying in urine, so urine's on their butt. So we have to clean the front, and then we turn them over. We clean their backside to get that urine off the skin. You guys remember that? Well, with catheter care, the urine's going through a catheter tubing. They're not laying in urine, so we don't have to clean the backside. So catheter care is peri-care plus the tube, the catheter tubing. Peri-care is peri-care plus the backside. That's going to be your difference. But the peri-care part, it's the same for both. Tanny, is it really safe to put the bedpan on the table exam-wise? Yes. Use a barrier on the table. Yes. But yes, that there is that checkpoint. And if you watch the videos, you actually saw the checkpoints on the bottom of the screen. So yeah, I don't like it, but they didn't ask me. So, all right. So not much to learn here, but we do kind of have to learn a little bit about what a catheter is and how it's used. And one of the reasons that I go over this is I find that there's a lot of fear around catheters. People don't really understand them too well. So if I go over what a catheter is and let you kind of look at it and play with it a little bit, it removes a lot of that fear, and then you have more confidence going into this skill. So that's what we're really going to focus on here. Page 159 has our care plan at the top of the page. It says provide catheter care with soap and water to a female resident with an indwelling urinary catheter. Give the or clean the catheter tubing and perineal area only. All right. So guys, we don't use catheters unless we have to. If the pee can come out on its own, we're going to let it come out on its own. We have a whole process for that. That's you know, incontinence, peri-care every 2 hours. We don't use catheters unless we absolutely have to. Now, what does have to mean? Well, if the pee can't come out on its own. For instance, a great example of this is somebody who maybe had a prostate surgery, and when they had the prostate surgery, unfortunately, they cut the nerves that control that, you know, that valve at the bottom of the bladder. Well, if there's no nerves there, that they can't tell the bladder to open or close, and we end up with not being able to pee. So a lot of patients that have had a prostate surgery that had complications will have a catheter, right? Because pee can't come out on its own. Make sense? Now, sometimes we use catheters when it's inconvenient for pee to come out on the side. If we've got a big bed sore on the back, big bed sore, and the patient's incontinent, well, we know that urine is acidic. Do we want acidic urine in that wound? No, that would be bad. So a catheter would be indicated. If we have somebody who had an epidural because they're getting ready to have a baby, well, epidurals make everything from here down go numb. So you can't walk to the bathroom. You can't control that valve at the bottom of your bladder. So urine is, you have no control over it. You can't go to the bathroom. So a catheter is indicated there. Sometimes during a natural childbirth, even without an epidural, we'll put a catheter in, because when you push baby out, you push everything out. It's not selective pushing, not selective. So sometimes in some situations, we don't want urine coming out with baby. This is also why when you're in labor, you just don't really feel like eating a whole lot. It's body's way of kind of clearing for the event. But we also use catheters during surgery, because when we put you to sleep, we put everything to sleep, which means you're probably going to pee all over our sterile field. We don't want that. So you often have catheters during surgery, during disease process, and sometimes during childbirth. Other than that, I've got to have a really, 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 really valid reason for using a catheter. It's not just for convenience. And that's because catheters have a very, very high rate of infection. And catheter-acquired urinary tract infections, what we call CAUTIs, C-A-U-T-I, catheter-acquired UTIs, kill about 2,500 people a year. I'm going to explain why. Catheters are extremely dangerous from an infection control standpoint, extremely dangerous. And this is why catheter care has to be done. But it's also why the next skill we're going to learn, emptying the bag, is so critical. We learn how to do it the right way. So with peri-care, remember peri-care, we changed the chucks, we cleaned, washed, rinsed, and dried away from the urethra. We turned the patient over, cleaned the backside, and changed that chucks again. That was peri-care. Catheter care looks very similar. We're going to put a chucks under the patient. They're not going to have one there to start. We're going to put them there, put a chucks there so we don't get the bed wet. We'll clean the front just like we did, but we're not going to clean the backside or leave them on a dry chucks at the end. We're going to take that chucks away. Chucks will only be there to keep the bed dry while we're cleaning. Peri-care, chucks all the time. Catheter care only while cleaning. So it's going to be a little bit different. Catheter care, remember peri-care we did every 2 hours around the clock? Catheter care is once a shift. Once a shift. So a little less often, once a shift. CNAs also have to inspect the bag and the tubing. We're going to talk about that in a second. Tubing should never be kinked. If it's kinked, the urine can't get through, and the bag should never be near the floor. Infection control. All right, so let's talk about the parts of a catheter. So this is a whole catheter system. It's called a closed system because the only opening is inside the body. This is up in the bladder. Okay. It's a closed system. There are no openings. So when urine enters this inside the body and goes through the system, it's contained. It stays there. Now, there are a couple places that we can open this system, but anytime we open it, we run the risk of allowing bacteria in. Make sense? Okay, we're going to talk about how catheters are kept in the body, how they stay there. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But there's two pieces to this whole system. This part here is the catheter. This part is the drainage bag. They're two pieces. So here are your two pieces. This is the catheter. This is the bag. Two pieces. This can stay in up to 30 days before it has to be changed. This is generally changed out once a week, 2 pieces. So they get joined together in the middle at the port. Now it becomes 1 piece. Okay, catheters can stay in place for up to 30 days, and the bag is generally changed out once a week, but go by your care plan for that patient. There are some, patients have to pay for these. There are some patients, low-income patients, that can't afford to change that out once a week. So we go by our care plan. All right, CNAs are responsible when it comes to catheters, not for putting them in or taking them out. That's not our job. Nurses do that. Doesn't mean that you can't be trained to do other tasks. But for initial training, we keep the catheter clean and we empty the bag. This is what we do. Keep the catheter clean and empty the bag. Now, in some settings, in some situations, CNAs might be trained to take catheters out. Very easy, very easy. But in some settings, you might be trained to take catheters out. Remember this? Chain of infection? That is very relevant to catheters. Now, review. We have 2 kidneys. They produce urine 24 hours a day. Those urine drip, drip, drips down into the bladder. A little valve at the bottom of the bladder holds the urine in place. We know this. We learned this last class. When we have a catheter, what we are doing, that whole system still works. Nothing has changed. What we have done is held this valve right here open with a doorstop. That's all we've done. We are holding that valve open. Now, remember, incontinence, the valve didn't work. So if the valve doesn't work, urine just comes right out. We're holding the valve open. It doesn't work. So urine would just come right out if we did not have a way to divert it. That's what this tubing does. It diverts the urine from the bladder and directs it down the tubing, which is holding that valve open. Good? Make sense? You guys understand what a catheter is? That's all it's doing, is keeping the urine from accumulating in the bladder. Instead, it goes down this tube. This is nothing more than a straw. A straw is a hollow tube. Where's my, I don't have it. A hollow tube that liquid goes through. That's all this is a straw. And in fact, when we first used catheters way back when, they were made of glass and they literally were a straw. Literal straw. Yeah, well, we didn't have plastic back then. Literal straw. But they found that, straws are kind of hard to get. We needed a tip. We need to cover that top end up a little bit to make it easier to put in. So this is what they eventually came up with. It is still a straw, but instead of the hole being at the top like a regular straw, we just put the hole on the side. It's still a straw. But if you don't attach this straw to something, that urine is just going to go everywhere. So let's attach it to a bag. And that's what your catheter system is. It is a straw that diverts all of the urine from the bladder out and collects it into a bag. Good?
If the patient is still moving around, can it not fall out, or they not take it out?
Okay, we're going to talk about fallout right now. Okay, and yes, patients can pull catheters out. Absolutely. So we should be reporting any patients that's tugging on the catheter, complaining of irritation. If our patient is showing any signs that they might pull that catheter out, we need to let the nurse know right away. Yes, they can. But it's actually way more common for us to pull the catheter out than it is the patient. I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. So let's talk about staying in, okay? If this is nothing more than like limp spaghetti. In fact, it kind of looks like spaghetti, right? Like a cooked spaghetti noodle. So if I just put this into a patient and let go, it's just going to fall right out. That's not going to stay there at all. So when the nurse puts this into the urethra, we're not drilling anything. The hole's already there. You pee through it every day, right? The hole is there. So when we put this into the pee hole, the urethra, I can't let it go because it's just literally going to slide right out. So once this gets into the bladder, and I know it's in the bladder because remember those holes, right? It's letting urine through. I see urine. I know I'm in the bladder. So instead of letting that go and having it fall out, I'm going to take a little bit of sterile water and I'm going to inject it into a bubble. Now this bubble becomes a doorstop. Let me go back one. This bubble becomes a doorstop. It sits at the bottom of the bladder and it keeps this in place. Now it's only filled with water. So if I pulled hard enough, yeah, I could pull it out for sure because it's squishy. It's only plastic filled with water. But I'm going to have something this size going through a tube this size, which means I'm going to get some tissue tearing, a little bleeding, probably some mucus, and my patient's going to feel it. They're not going to die. Don't panic. Don't panic. It'll hurt, but they're not going to die. However, anytime I have injury, I always have swelling. This is not a place I want swelling. Not a place I want swelling. So if the catheter comes out, you need to let the nurse know right away, because if we have to put one in, we've got to do it before swelling occurs. If we wait too long, if you wait 45 minutes to tell me, oh yeah, Mr. McGillicuddy pulled his catheter out, I have no options now. I can't put another one in. It's too swollen. I'll never get that catheter in. So you need to let the nurse know right away if a catheter comes out. Then I've got some options to work with. Okay, good. First thing I'm going to do is figure out, do I really need that catheter? Because if he pulled it out once, chances are he's going to pull it out again. Can we do something else? Do we have another option? Okay, good. Makes sense? Now, in order to take this out, remember, this is sitting on top of that valve. It's designed to keep that catheter in place. If the catheter needs to come out, I'm going to take a syringe and just pull the water out of the balloon. Now, remember what happened when I let that go? It just slides right out. So taking a catheter out is actually very easy. You deflate the balloon, it just slides right out. So CNAs can be trained to do that. What you don't want to do is pull it out. Don't do that. Good? Are you starting to see catheters aren't nearly as scary as we think they are? Okay. So this catheter inside the body, balloon is holding it in place, is attached to the bag, right? This attachment point right here, where the catheter and the bag meet, right here, CNAs do not interrupt this. You do not remove the catheter from the bag unless you've had training to do so. Because when we uncouple this, I now have an area for bacteria to get in, for pathogens to enter, and it's really close to the inside of the body. That's not good. So CNAs do not disconnect the catheter from the bag unless you've been trained to do so. There's a lot of states that will not allow CNAs to do that. It's outside of your scope of practice. Remember, your scope of practice is always dictated by the state laws, by your facility policy and procedures, and by the care plan. There's 3 things that govern your scope of practice. Okay, good. Do you guys remember that? That was way back on class 1. I know it's a long time ago. Think about all the stuff I've shoved in your brains since class 1. It's a lot of information. All right, so bags can come in a variety of shapes and sizes. This is what we're going to use for the exam. It's a bedside bag. It's this bag. This is what we use for the exam. But if your patient is out and about in the community, they don't want to carry around a suitcase full of urine with them everywhere they go. People stare. That's just odd. So people that are out and about use something a little more discreet called a leg bag. Now, a leg bag can be worn under clothing and you won't even know. There's people right now walking around Walmart right down the road with a leg bag and you have no idea. No idea. Yeah. I mean, right now we're at somewhere close to between 90 and 100,000 people here in our county. It's a lot of people. And I would say roughly about 2,000 to 3,000 have a catheter. And they're out walking the roads, guys. They're not as uncommon as you would think. Okay. So leg bags can be used. Now, if somebody has a leg bag, chances are they're taking care of it themselves. They don't need you. But you need to know that they do exist. Incidentally, these are also called stadium bags. Do you guys know why they're called stadium bags? Well, yeah, or it's to drain the booze after it goes through the body. It's a lot of times your diehard fans don't want to have to go to the bathroom because there's always a line. And they will wear an external catheter with a stadium bag. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. Men, not women, usually men. All right. So why is this whole system dangerous? Well, it has to do with pathogens. This is, think of a Trojan horse, okay? If we get bacteria in this system, those bacteria are going to multiply and they're going to climb. So as bacteria enter the system, they run out of room and they start to climb. And then they climb the tubing. And in here is urine. Now, urine has proteins and enzymes that bacteria need to live their best life. Think of it like an open bar and an all-you-can-eat buffet. So they're living their best life right now. But they still are exposed to light and they're not in the body, so it's a little cold. Because remember, room temperature always wins. You guys remember that? Okay, so they're living, but they're not really thriving. Now, as they climb, as they multiply, and it gets more and more and more of them, and they climb, then they get into the catheter itself. Now, the catheter, warm urine, blocks out light. This is now when they're living their truly best life and they really start to ramp up that multiplication. Remember, bacteria don't need little boy bacteria and little girl bacteria to make baby bacteria. Doesn't work that way. They just need the right conditions. They zip themselves in half and now we got 2. And 2 become 4, 4 become 8, 8 becomes 16, 32, 64, 128, and so on. So this increases exponentially. So if we have pathogens in this catheter itself, they are multiplying and we have no idea they're there. No idea at all that they're there. And as they climb and they multiply, when they jump out into the bladder, this is the idea, this is nirvana for them. Absolute nirvana for them. But when they invade, they don't invade 1 or 2 at a time. Like when you get a UTI, it's just 1 or 2 bacteria that made its way into your bladder and it causes havoc. This is 1 or 2 trillion that invade the bladder that quick. So you can go from having a patient that's just fine and 30 minutes later, they are in a full-blown crisis because it was an overwhelming invasion. All of those bacteria hid in the catheter. Do you see why catheters can be so dangerous for your patients? This is why we have rules. This is why CNAs do not separate these 2 pieces, because it's bad enough to get bacteria down here, but that's a long way for bacteria to climb, long, long way. But a bacteria that enters here, that's not so bad. That's like a day trip. Okay. So that's why CNAs have to be trained. We also have to do really good infection control processes when we empty this bag and not let the port touch anything. Ideally, no bacteria. But if we're going to have some bacteria, it's better to have it way down here than way up here. Good? Good? Okay. All right, so there's 3 points of entry when it comes to catheter and bag assemblies. This one is the one the nurses are concerned with. If they don't put the catheter in right, they can introduce bacteria and we have a problem. We have a UTI right off the bat. This is the second point of entry where the catheter and the bag meet. You have to have training for this. Down here is something we are going to do though, and that's empty the bag. So the next thing that we're going to learn in just a few minutes is how to empty this bag without allowing any contamination of that port. Good. All right, bags should be on a non-moving part of the bed, always above the floor. Catheter bags should never, ever, ever touch the floor, ever. You don't want that, remember pathogens on the floor. You don't want that contamination. You also don't want the patient laying on the catheter. And you've always got to be aware of whether the patient has a catheter anytime you move the patient. Remember I said that patients do pull them out, but it's much more common for us to pull it out? Yeah. I'm going to explain how that happens in just a second. Never raise a bag above the patient's hips. That allows urine to return back to the bladder, and any pathogens that are in, it's a, it's a water slide, woo, right into the bladder. They didn't have to pay an admission fee. It's a bad thing. So never raise. I watch like discovery shows, health discovery shows. It amazes me how many patient care techs or patient care assistants or CNAs or, whatever they are, walking a patient down a hallway, holding the bag up like this as they're walking the patient. You have just put all of that urine back into the bladder. And I don't know about you, but urine really should be a one-way trip. Recycled urine, not high on my list of to-dos. One-way trip. Don't ever hold a bag up of urine. Okay? It's just gross. Sometimes patients will pull them out. If they pull them out, let the nurse know right away. But what do we do with the catheter in the bag if they pull it out? Don't throw it away. As the nurse, I have to inspect that. If I look at a catheter and the whole thing is intact, if this catheter came out of the patient and I look at it and the bubble is intact, I know the whole thing came out, everything is good. I can work with that. That's a me problem now. But if I look at this catheter and the bubble has burst, there's a hole in it, I don't know if any of this was left behind in the patient. That's not a me problem. That's now a surgeon's problem. Okay. So the only way for me to know whether it's a me problem or a surgeon problem is to look at the catheter. If you've thrown it away and gotten rid of it and I can't find it, there's no way for me to make that determination. That's a much bigger problem now. So if a catheter gets pulled out, you're going to put it into, let me come back to this slide a minute. You're going to put it into an empty trash bag in the bathroom. Let the nurse know, hey, the catheter and bag are in the bathroom for you to inspect. But as bad as it is for patients to pull a catheter out, that's not the most common way. This is one of the most common way. If this tubing is coiled near the floor, as you're walking by it and working, your foot will get trapped in that catheter and that tubing, and you will pull it out. This happens way more commonly than you would think. Now, they tried to shorten the tubing this was a known problem for a long time. They did shorten the tubing a little bit to make this a little less common, but it still happens. It's not, because your patient has to be able to move. And this the bag has to hang off the bed. So you got to have enough for your patient to be able to move. So just be careful. Don't let that tubing get coiled near the floor. But this is bad, right? This is bad, but it's not the worst one. This is. As CNAs, we move patients. Remember, we have a lot of mobility skills. We turn patients over in bed. We transfer them out of bed and into a wheelchair. We put them into chairs. We change their sheets and turn them over. We do all kinds of stuff with patients. And the problem is that if you aren't aware of whether they have a catheter or not and make sure that bag moves with the patient, you will walk them right off of that catheter. This happens usually about once a week in every facility. A CNA will get a patient out of bed, they'll start walking them somewhere, and plop, the catheter gets pulled out. And your patient goes, ow, what was that? And you look behind you and there's a trail of urine and blood. Yeah. So if we're going to move a patient, always look for a catheter. Always look for a catheter. Good? Good. All right. So there's a couple different types of catheters. Now I'm going to pass this around so you guys can see what this is and how it works. I'm all about relieving fears. All right. So there's a couple different types of catheters. This is the one we just talked about. It's called an indwelling catheter. It goes in. We use a bubble. It stays in. It also has another name called a Foley catheter. Remember I said everything in medicine has two names? So an indwelling catheter, one with a bubble, is called a Foley catheter. It goes in, it stays in up to 30 days. Nurses put them in, nurses take them out, but you can be trained to take them out in some settings. This is a different type of catheter. If we don't need to leave it in, we don't need a bubble. If we just want to put the catheter in, drain the urine, and take it right back out, we're going to use something called a Red Robinson or straight cath. This doesn't have a bubble. It's a different color to make it easy to, to identify. So this is a straight cath, intermittent cath. We put it in, we take it right out. Short term. But you got to hold it in place. If you let go, it's going to slide out like a piece of spaghetti. So bubble keeps it in. This just for immediate relief of the urine. Then we have these. These are for men. These are called external catheters. They're also called condom caths and Texas caths. I don't know why it's got three names. So condom cath, a Texas cath, or an external catheter all look like condoms. You put them on just like a condom. It has this little tip at the front of it, and that attaches to the bag, just like the catheter does, just like this. It attaches to the bag. Now, these are nice because they're not internal. So we've reduced a lot of those infection control risks, a lot of those urinary tract issues. But it has its own set of issues because now this little tip is a reservoir. It's going to hold urine right up against the tip of the penis, which is very sensitive. And it can eat, because adult urine is acid, it can eat into that skin. So if we are using an external catheter or condom cath, it's going to be changed out every 3 days, and we're going to clean that skin really, really well when we change that catheter out, the condom catheter, okay? A lot of times, you'll go by your facility policy, but a lot of times when I'm writing care plans for external catheters for my patients, my male patients, I am going to have on there to use skin prep on the exposed tissue. This provides, it looks like a nail polish pad or an alcohol pad, but it's a little bit sticky, and it provides an extra layer of a barrier between the urine and the skin, and it can help prevent what we call maceration or breakdown of that skin tissue. Again, follow your care plan. Not every patient can have that. If I have a patient with really sensitive skin that reacts to adhesives, I can't use that because that's not a place you want a reaction. Go by your care plans. All right, so when we're doing when we're doing catheter care, it's just like peri care. We're just going to hold that catheter out of the way. So I'm going to hold the catheter up and clean the skin around it. So once down the middle, fold that leaf. Down one side, fold that leaf. Down the other side, fold that leaf. Skin fold the leaf, skin fold. Whatever we wash, we rinse. So I'm going to take my rinsing washcloth, wring it out really well. Hold it in that diamond shape. I'm going to hold that catheter out of the way, clean down the middle, fold it, rinse down one side, fold it, rinse down the other side, fold it, rinse the skin fold it, rinse the skin fold. And then I'll dry. Okay, always away from the urethra. Now I'm holding that catheter though, because I don't want to pull it on the inside. It's only being held in place by that water-filled bubble. You don't want to be pulling on that catheter. So you want to hold it while you're cleaning so it doesn't get accidentally pulled. Now that's really important when we're actually cleaning the catheter itself. So I'm going to hold that catheter. I'm going to take the washcloth, diamond shape, soap 4 corners. And as I'm holding that catheter, I'm going to wrap this around the catheter and wipe away from the body. So I'm cleaning the tubing. I'll fold that over, hold, wrap, wipe. That's 2. Hold, wrap, wipe. That's 3. Hold, wrap, wipe, 4. Whatever I wash, I rinse. So I'm going to rinse the same way. Whatever I rinse, I dry. And then I'm going to take the pad out from under the patient and do my closing. So clean my basin, put it away, put all my towels and everything into dirty linen, take my gloves off, take the privacy blanket out and put the sheet back up. Thank you very much, Ms. Jones. Is there anything else I can get for you while I'm here? Are you comfortable? Would you like a magazine before I go? Environment's clean, bed's in low position. Here's your call light. Open the curtain, wash my hands. Whew, my skill is done. Good. So this is walking you through the every step. We're going to read our care plan. We're going to do our opening. We're going to get a barrier and our supplies. We're going to get water, let them check it. We're going to use privacy blanket. We definitely need some gloves. First thing our gloves should touch is the patient. You're going to get the patient on their side by scooting them towards you, then rolling them away and putting a chucks underneath them. Get them back on their back in the middle of the bed after the chucks is in place. We'll put a privacy blanket on and expose the area that we're working on, putting a towel over their legs to minimize exposure. We're going to take our first washcloth, wring it out really, really well. We'll use those leaves method. We're going to apply soap to all 5 leaves because we're doing peri care. This is just peri care. We're going to hold the catheter where it exits the body, and we're going to wipe down the middle, down one side, down the other side, skin fold and skin fold, changing the leaf with each stroke, and whatever we wash, we rinse. Whatever we rinse, we dry. So we're going to pat, dry, downward. Then we're going to take washcloth number 3, wring it out really, really well, no drippy wet washcloths, and we're going to rinse all of those areas using the leaves method. I'm sorry, I just went off track there. So we've washed, we've rinsed, we dried the peri area. We've got our washcloth. We're going to wring it out really well, really well. Soap 4 leaves to clean the catheter. So we'll hold that catheter. We're going to wipe away from the body 4 times. Whatever we wash, we rinse. We'll rinse away from the body 4 times, and then we'll dry away from the body. Once we've got that dry, we'll cover them back up, take the chucks out from under them, and clean up our environment. Dispose of all of our linens, clean and store our basin, remove our gloves, take our privacy blanket away and pull the sheet up, and then do our closing. That's the whole skill. It's a lot of steps, but all of them should be somewhat familiar to you. Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to talk about the next skill now before I show you these videos, and I'm going to show you the 2 videos back to back. For the test, they're 2 separate skills, but in a clinical setting, they go together. When you do peri care, when you do catheter care, you empty the bag. They're going to go together in a clinical setting, but for the test, they're 2 separate skills. All right, so let's go to page 164, drainage bag. Again, nothing to learn here. Down here is your test-specific information. Somebody with your level of experience should be able to do this in 9 minutes or less. It's going to be done on a mannequin. So if you look at the top of page 165, you see our care plan. It says empty the resident's urinary drainage bag into a graduate container and measure and record urinary output in mLs or cc's on the intake and output form. So this is the intake and output form here that they're going to use for the test. You can see a bigger copy of it on page 169. Here's your supplies at the bottom. And if you remember, we talked about these two bags. We have the bedside bag, which made its way around the class, and then we have the leg bag. They both have a port for emptying. They're set up a little bit different. So as I go through this, you're probably going to want to pass that bag back around the other way in just a few minutes. So this is a T valve. A T valve means you slide it to the side to open it. This is a twist valve, so you would twist the valve to open it. Okay, so two different mechanisms. For the exam, I'm going to borrow this for a second. For the exam, when you get this skill, if this is a skill that is assigned to you, when you get this skill, they're going to show you how to work the valve on their particular bag. But it will be this one. So you'll already know how. So at the bottom of the bag, down here, is your valve. It lives in its little house. Once you remove it from its house, it cannot touch anything. It can't touch your gloves. It can't touch the bed. It can't touch the container. It can't touch anything. This end can't touch anything because this is where pathogens are going to enter. Now down here is your T valve. Right now, if you look through, you can see that it is closed. Hey, Jake, can you, I don't know if you can get this. Can you give me a real close up here? Yeah, that's good. Okay. So if you look through, you can see that that is closed. You guys see that? No, it's okay. Here we go. You can see that that's closed. Now, if I hold it down here, put my thumb on this edge, and I push it, now you should be able to see that it is open. Okay. To close it, I would push it back the other way. And now it's closed. Good? Makes sense? What you don't want to do is put your finger here. You can't touch this edge. So you've got to learn how to do this by keeping your fingers off of this part. Good? Okay, thank you, Jake. I'm going to pass this around so you guys can play with it. Once you're done with it, once you're done emptying it, you're going to put it back, close it, and put it back into its house without it touching anything. You don't want to do this. You just need to slide it right into its house. The whole purpose here is to minimize pathogen contamination of that port and to prevent pathogens from getting inside the bag where they can multiply. All right, so when we empty the bag into our graduate container, we're going to put a barrier on the floor and then put the container on the barrier. This is our container. The container has markings on it. One side has ounces, the other side has mLs or cc's. Please remember that in medicine, we use mLs or cc's. So that's the side we're going to use. And we are going to round to the nearest line. Doesn't matter whether it's up or down, whatever the nearest line is. Nothing can touch that port. So we're going to put a barrier on the floor, put this on the barrier. We're going to position the port over the cup, not letting the end of the port touch anything. We're going to open it and let the urine drain into the cup. You can lift the bag a little bit, not above the hips, but you can tilt the bag a little to help it empty into the cup. That's fine. But don't raise the bag above the level of the hips. Don't let that port touch anything. Now this is this. I'm going to pass this around. One side is ounces, one side is cc's or mLs. Remember, cc's and mLs are the same thing. But when you're looking at this, you can see this line right here is closest to the 450. That's what we're going to call it, 450. It's actually just a tiny itty bitty bit below it, but we're not going to say 449. Now, when you're reading this, you can see the markings 250, 300, 350, 400, 450, 500. The little tiny lines in between are going to be 25s. So if I'm looking at this, there's 200, that's 225. It's not, doesn't have numbers, but I know it's 225 because it's halfway between 200 and 250. You're going to round to the nearest line. Okay, good. All right, so after we have emptied the urine into the graduate container, we're going to take that graduate container over to the bathroom. Now, we don't carry an open container of urine anywhere, so that chucks that's on the floor, we're going to wrap it around the container to take it to the bathroom. Once it's at the bathroom, we're going to put it on the lid of the toilet. We have to measure it on a barrier, on a flat surface, and at eye level for it to count. All three of those have to be accomplished. On a barrier, on a flat surface, at eye level. And then we'll round to the nearest line. Now, once we do that, at the end of the scale, we're going to have to document. And we're going to document the time, which would be in military time, if you know military time. If not, make sure you put AM or PM. The type of output, which is urine. We don't assume. There's lots of stuff that can come out of the human body. You've got to indicate what came out of the human body. The amount, which in this case was 450 cc's, and then your initials. Please make sure you're putting this on the output section, not intake. Do you guys remember I said that CNAs are often limited to documenting in numbers? We don't really let you use words a whole lot. Okay, well, this is one of the reasons why. Because if you document in the intake section by accident, right? Because if you look on page 169, you can see intake right above output. If you put this in the wrong box, you are legally declaring, hand on the Bible, declaring that this person drank 450 cc's of urine. That is what you are saying. This is how serious documentation is. And remember, lawsuits happen. Medical lawsuits happen. You don't want a lawyer to come up to you and say, really? Really? This patient drank 450 cc's of urine? And you're going to say, well, of course not. Nobody would do. That's what your form says. This is a legal form. That is what you documented. Well, no, they didn't drink a 450. Oh, so you lied? Lawyers are not nice. And if it means that it's going to get their client a multi-million-dollar settlement, you can guarantee they aren't going to take your feelings into consideration. They will be ruthless. So when you are documenting, you need to make sure that you are documenting in the correct space. This is so serious that during the test, if you document under intake, it is an automatic failure. Do you guys understand how important that is? Okay. So here's our steps. We're going to read our care plan and follow it. We're going to do our opening. We're going to use a barrier. We're going to put our cup on the floor. We're going to get some gloves on. We're going to empty the contents into the cup, not letting that port touch anything. We're going to close the valve and put it back in its house. Don't let it touch anything. We're going to wrap the cup up in the chucks, take it to the bathroom, unfold it, and get down and read it at eye level. And then we're going to dump it in the toilet, rinse it, dry it, and store it in the bottom drawer. Remove your gloves, do your closing, and then we can document in the output section. We'll wash our hands again and then tell our evaluator our skill is done. Any questions? All right, so I'm going to show you both of these videos, one after the other. Remember, they are two separate skills. They would require the opening, the skill, the closing, the opening, the skill, and the closing if you get both of them. But I like to show those two videos together. All right, Jake, take it away. Good afternoon, Mrs. Jones. My name is Patty. I'm your CNA today. How are you? Wonderful. I'd like to perform catheter care. Is that okay? Okay, I'm going to close your curtain for privacy, wash my hands, get my supplies, and I'll be right back. Now that I have clean hands, I can get my clean supplies. We're going to place a barrier on the table with the absorbent side facing up. This gives us a clean area for our clean supplies. And for this skill, we're going to need one underpad. We're going to need a towel, 4 washcloths, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to need a privacy blanket. We'll bring this over to the patient area. And I'm going to need a basin and soap. And a set of gloves. All right, Miss Jones, I'm just going to fill your basin. I'll be right back. To fill the basin, I'm going to use a paper towel to turn the faucet on because my hands are clean. I'll use my wrist to feel the water temperature. It should feel warm, not hot, not cold, just warm. And we'll fill the basin about 1/4 of the way full. Mrs. Jones, would you like to check the water temperature? It's good? Wonderful. Okay. I'm going to place this privacy blanket over you, and this is going to help keep you warm and provide privacy as we do this skill. So I'll lay the privacy blanket over the sheet without snapping it or shaking it, and then pull the sheet down to about your waist. I'll put the washcloths in the basin. That way they get warm. And I'm going to prepare the underpad to go under the patient. I'll open it up. I'm going to hold it up lengthwise with the absorbent side facing me, and I'll roll it all the way to the end. Now I can put my gloves on. Okay, Miss Jones, we're going to place an underpad under you to keep your sheets dry while we do this skill. So I'm going to place an underpad on the bed. And in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to scoot toward me. I'm going to roll you on your side, and then we'll spread that underpad out. So on the count of 3, go ahead and scoot toward me. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And now I'm going to roll you on your side. 1, 2, 3. And as I roll the patient, I want to be careful not to put any stress on this catheter or the tubing. You don't want it pulling tight. So I'm going to unroll the chucks underneath the patient and tuck it under her hip. Miss Jones, come on back and scoot to the middle of the bed, please. Okay, Miss Jones, we're going to repeat the process. Go ahead and scoot toward me, and we're going to roll you onto your left side. 1, 2, 3. And I'll smooth that chucks out underneath the patient. Come on back onto your back, and then scoot to the middle. Now we can begin the cleaning. Miss Jones, I'm going to expose you. I'll make this as brief as possible, but please let me know if you're uncomfortable in any way. I'm going to roll the privacy blanket, making sure that I get the gown inside the blanket as I roll it. But I don't want to grab that catheter as I'm rolling the blanket. So you want to be very gentle with this process. This is going to expose the peri area. And then I'll place a towel over the upper thighs and make sure that the catheter tubing is on the towel. This is to help minimize exposure, increase comfort, and gives a place to put the catheter while we're cleaning it. Now I'm ready to start cleaning. I'm going to take my first washcloth, wring it out, and I'm going to soap 5 corners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to hold the catheter out of the way, retract her labia, and then wipe down the center, top to bottom, and then move away and fold that leaf. The second leaf will wash the outside of the labia, top to bottom. We'll fold that leaf over. This is going in one direction only, top to bottom. This third leaf is going to wash the other side of the labia, top to bottom. We'll fold that over. The fourth leaf will wash the skin fold between the leg and the groin, top to bottom. We'll fold that over. The last leaf will wash the skin fold on this side, top to bottom. Now we'll set that aside on the barrier. And whatever we wash, we rinse. So we're going to wring that washcloth out really well. Hold it using the leaves method. I'll hold the catheter out of the way and open the labia and rinse down the center one direction, top to bottom. We'll fold that over. We'll rinse the outside of the labia, top to bottom, fold that over. The other outside of the labia, top to bottom, fold that over. This is going to rinse the skin fold. Fold that over, rinse the skin fold. We'll set that aside. Now we're going to clean the tubing. So I'll get washcloth number 3, wring it out really well, hold it using the leaves method, and I'm going to soak 4 leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to hold the catheter where it exits the body so it doesn't pull on the inside. Wrap the washcloth around the catheter and wipe away from the body. We're going to fold that over and repeat 3 times. Hold the catheter, wipe the washcloth around, and move away from the body. 2, 3, changing the leaf for each stroke, and 4. We'll set this aside. Whatever we wash, we rinse. I'm going to wring the rinsing washcloth out thoroughly, hold it in the diamond shape in my hands, Hold the catheter where it exits the body, wipe the washcloth around, and rinse going down the catheter. We'll fold that leaf, rinse 2, fold that leaf, rinse 3, fold that leaf, and rinse 4. We'll set that aside. Whatever we rinse, we dry. So we'll dry the peri area top to bottom and the catheter tubing. We can remove the towel, set it on the table, and we're going to unroll the privacy blanket, trying to be careful not to touch that gown with your soiled gloves, and we'll cover the patient up. Mrs. Jones, can I get you to scoot toward me, and I'm going to remove the pad that's under you. Go ahead and scoot toward me, and on the count of 3, you're going to roll up. 1, 2, 3. I will roll the soiled chucks toward the patient and tuck it underneath her hip. Come on back, Miss Jones. When I'm moving Mrs. Jones, because my gloves are soiled, I'm only touching the outside of the privacy blanket. Mrs. Jones, scoot to the middle of the bed, please. And now we can remove your chucks. If you can scoot toward me, again, my soiled gloves are only going to touch the outside of the blanket. And then you're going to roll up on your side. 1, 2, 3. And I'll remove that chucks from under the patient. Come on back onto your back. And then if you can scoot to the middle. Thank you. I'm going to go dispose of this. Okay, Mrs. Jones, you're covered. You're safely in the middle of the bed. I'm going to go dispose of your linens and clean your basin. I'll be right back. These items will go in dirty linen. We're going to clean this basin the way we clean all basins. I'll bring the basin to the sink and we'll dispose of the water in the sink. Rinse the basin and then dispose of the rinse water into the sink as well. I'm going to set that down, disinfect it per facility policy, and then pick it up with a paper towel. I'm going to get a clean paper towel to dry the inside. I'm going to get a clean paper towel to dry the outside. And then one more for the drawer. On the way, we'll pick up the soap, place it in the basin, use the paper towel to open the middle drawer, pick up the lotion and put it in the basin, and then store the basin in the drawer. We'll close it with a paper towel and then throw those paper towels away. Now we can dispose of the barrier. This will go in the garbage. And I can remove my gloves. Okay, Miss Jones, I'm going to remove your privacy blanket now. I want to check your tubing real quick just to make sure that it's not kinked and you're not lying on it. So it looks good. It's not near the floor. So I'll pull the sheet up over the privacy blanket. This ensures that you're always covered. And I'll remove the blanket as I do so. Want to make sure that the blanket is rolled into a ball so trailing edges don't contaminate other surfaces. We'll make sure that the sheet looks good. All right, Miss Jones, just let me go dispose of this in dirty linen. I'll be right back. We'll adjust the sheet on this side. There you go. Is there anything else I can get for you while I'm here? Are you comfortable? Would you like a magazine? Your bed is in the low position. Your environment is clean. Here's your call light. If you need anything at all, go ahead and press the red button. We'll be happy to come help. I'm going to open your curtain and return your overbed table to storage. Now I'll go wash my hands. After washing my hands, I'll review the care plan, make any corrections, and tell the evaluator my skill is done. Good evening, Mrs. Jones. How are you today? Fantastic. I need to empty your urinary drainage bag. Is that okay? I'm going to close your curtain for privacy, wash my hands, get my supplies, and I'll be right back. After washing my hands, I'll get my supplies. We're going to start with the chucks. This is going to go on the floor under the bag. We're going to place the barrier on the floor directly under the urinary drainage bag. So we'll unfold it and we'll place it under the bag with the absorbent side facing up. I'm going to go get a set of gloves. And we're going to get the graduate container out of the drawer. You need to make sure that you put your gloves on before you get the graduate container. We're going to place the container on the barrier directly underneath the bag. We use the emptying port to empty the bag. This is a T-valve. We slide it to the side to open the valve, and then we're going to empty the urine into the graduate container without letting that port touch anything. Once the bag is empty, we'll close the port and place it back in its little house. All right, Ms. Jones, I just want to check to make sure the tubing is coiled on the bed and you're not lying on it, and that it's not coiled near the floor either, where it could become a tripping hazard. Now, I can wrap the chucks around my graduate container for safe and secure transport to the bathroom. We're going to set it down on the lid of the bedside commode and unwrap it, turning the cup around so that we can read the amount of urine that's in the cup. We need to be at eye level. It needs to be on a flat surface and on a barrier. I'm going to throw the chucks away. Open the lid and the seat and dispose of the urine into the bedside commode. I'll rinse the cup and dispose of the rinse water into the bedside commode as well. We'll close that, set the graduate container down in the sink, and disinfect it per facility policy. I'll pick it up with a paper towel, dry the inside with a paper towel, throw that away, dry the outside with a paper towel, throw that away, and one more for the drawer. Okay, Miss Jones, I'm just going to return this to storage using a paper towel to open the drawer. And closing the drawer, we'll throw those paper towels away, and then I can remove my gloves. You take a peek at your tubing just one last time. Everything looks good. Are you comfortable, Mrs. Jones? Is there anything else I can get for you while I'm here? No? Would you like a magazine before I go? Your bed is in a low position. Your environment is clean. I'm going to open the curtain. Here's your call light. If you need anything at all, just press that red button. We'll be happy to come back and assist you. Thank you very much. I'm going to go wash my hands. After washing my hands, we'll document the amount of output on the documentation sheet provided by the evaluator. We're going to document the time of output, the type of output, which is urine, the amount of output in cc's, and my initials. And we want to make sure that we're documenting in the output section. After documenting, I'll wash my hands one final time. After washing my hands a final time, I'll review the care plan, make any corrections, and then tell the evaluator my skill is done. All skills. We've covered them all. Does anybody have any questions on anything that we've learned so far? All right, your last chapter of homework is tonight, chapter 10. It's a short chapter. It's an easy chapter. It's on stress management and employability. We are going to cover employability specific to medical on Wednesday. I have a couple things to go over with you that you may not know about searching for a job in medicine that makes it a little unique to other industries. We're also going to talk about how to ace that interview and how to answer that age-old question, tell me a little bit about yourself. I actually have a formula that you can use to craft your very own tell me a little bit about yourself speech that makes it very concise, informative, and will leave you on a good note with the interviewer. So we'll go over that in class on Wednesday as well. Wednesday is also graduation. So we will take a class photo. I put it up on Facebook. I do not tag you. You got to go find yourself and share it. And but employers do often look at that. So keep that in mind. You will bring your yellow book back to me on Friday. So if you're behind on your reading, get caught up. Remember that you still have access to the online course. So if you've not started the online course, now would be a really good time to get into that. And you still have all of the review sheets as well. If you're missing any review sheets, they're right here in the file manager by the door. Feel free to take whatever you need, whatever you're missing to fill in. Okay. Any other questions before I let you go? Nope. This book is yours to keep forever, but the yellow one you will be bringing back to class on Wednesday. Any other questions? All right, the rest of the class is practice. So the mannequin is here, the supplies are here. Feel free to go crazy. I am considering allowing practice next week in classroom hours, Monday and Wednesday, from 9 to 1 next week. I will not be here. It will be by appointment only. So I'll have a sign-up sheet on Wednesday. And if you are looking to, reserve a practice time, it's best to practice in groups. So, gather a group together. And I will have Jake here to open it up for practice on, whatever days you guys reserve. But if that's pulling him away from work that I need him to do. So if you're not going to come, please don't, this is something new. We haven't done this before, so I'm going to try it out. But go forth and conquer. Those of you that joined us remotely, thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on Wednesday for graduation. And remember, our game show is next Tuesday. I am off of classes next week. Join us for a brand new class session starting October 13th. Until next time, happy caregiving. Bye.